and welcome to episode 33, I think it is. Something like that. Yeah, episode 33 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. It is Monday. It is Monday. Is it Monday today? Yeah, it's Monday.
Monday, August 5th.
Monday, August 5th, 2019, 7:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tony is in Atlanta, Georgia. I am in Toronto, Canada.
Broadcasting live from two porta potties.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we are actually in two porta potties right now. This is all green screened behind us.
Dude, that's what we need to do. You're a voice guy. You need to make like an intro thing where it's like two dudes and some bullshit broadcasting live from porta potties in Toronto and Atlanta.
That's right. That's right. I'm just going to pop my headphones on here. So just on the off chance that we get feedback. Let's see here. Okay. I think we're.
Oh, yeah, Michelle. Yeah. Yes, I am wearing glasses tonight. I had mentioned that on Instagram earlier this week. I got an ulcer behind this eye. And it's basically it's just a constant burning water, so they just said lay off the contacts for like a week. But I've always had these. I mean, you know that. So.
Oh, yeah.
So we're twinning it tonight.
That's right. That's right.
Twins.
Yeah, hey man, what's going on? Tony and I are talking two Stephen King classics tonight. We are talking Carrie from 1976 and Christine from 1983. And of course, Christine was directed by John Carpenter and Carrie directed by Brian De Palma.
Featuring PJ Soul, so we got a little of a Halloween alum, here tonight.
Yes. And Tony and I were just talking before we went live that PJ Souls was about 26 or 7 in Christine, as was Sissy Spacek as well. She was about 26. She looks, but it's the way it's her frame and her face. Yeah. She totally looks like she could be like 16 or 17.
Absolutely. Well, wasn't that the thing they did back in the day too, with actors like they would cast mid-20-year-olds to play high school kids?
They still do that today.
It's crazy. It's like they don't look. I mean, they don't look it. But even though, like you're right, like what you said with Sissy Spacek, and even PJ Souls in that movie, the way they youthed her up with wearing the hat and whatnot, that definitely made her look a lot younger than she probably looked.
Bangs were just dynamite.
Bangs. Absolutely. Oh, they're at total 19s. Totally right. Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, totally.
Totally 1970s. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this because, like we said before going live, this is horror movie royalty here when it comes to like Carrie, and you can even put Christine a little bit in that category as well too. This isn't the slasher genre. When you mention Carrie, you're talking, nominated for Best Actress and Supporting Actress with Sissy Spacek and Piper. What was her name? Piper Laurie, who played her mom. And that's not something you see too often with horror films.
No, well, again, I mean, it's a horror movie, but when you watch the movie, it's a, how do I intellectualize this? I mean, it's okay. It's a different time. It's the 70s. Yeah. But when you watch it, it's a very mature, grounded, thriller, really. I mean, it's a horror film, but as you just said, it's not a slasher movie. So it feels well shot, well put together. There's not gratuitous violence. There's not, blood, guts, and gore. There's not
very little blood.
Right, exactly.
And I don't mean blood in the prank, but like actual people getting hurt blood.
Right, exactly. And so I mean, it was like I said, I just watched it again for the first time in a number of years this afternoon, and I thoroughly enjoyed it as much as I remember enjoying it. And but Brian De Palma, you look at who's directing the film. I mean, Brian.
Not really an unknown because he had
unknown.
He did Sisters right up and prior to that with Margot Kidder, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that is correct.
I don't know, like the years difference, but I know he did it before. I think he did it before. He did do it before Carrie, but I don't know if that was his first and then Carrie was his second.
Right. Let me see.
As directing goes.
Sisters was first. Yeah, 1972. So when you look at his repertoire or his Rolodex, let's say, of films.
God,
Scarface. You've got The Untouchables.
Yeah.
Right? You've got Carlito's Way. You've got Snake Eyes. You've got Mission to Mars. You've got
Raising Cain with John Lithgow. Love that movie from the was it early 90s?
Early 90s, I believe. Raising Cain. Yeah, 1992.
Yeah.
And so you have a seasoned director, not seasoned at that time, but you have a director that he's making a horror film, but it's like Scorsese. I'm not comparing De Palma to Scorsese, but I'm just using this as an example where it's like when Scorsese did Shutter Island, right? It's you bring a grounded, mature mind to the project. So the movie itself, even though it's a horror film, Carrie is, it has this, very grounded sort of, mature.
That was my phone. Sorry.
Hello? Yes.
33 episodes in, and it finally happened the first time ever.
Yes.
Okay, my bad.
He's right here. Oh yes. I will let you know in just a second. I don't think he's naked. No, why would he be naked? Okay, bye. Anyway, so you have a guy.
33 episodes in it took for that to finally happen, and I'm so good at that shit too, man.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'd care if you were like, hang on.
Hold on, let me take this call.
Yeah, unless it was an emergency, of course.
Yeah.
But no, like you bring a guy like De Palma in, you have a tone and a feel to the narrative and piece. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel
right.
There's a focus on story and the execution of that story, and that is what it's about. I mean, it's a very sad story. It's really sad.
It is. It touches on a lot of deep issues that today it makes me wonder if the movie had never been done, could it be done today? Because you're dealing with bullying, which is a very sensitive topic.
Right.
You're dealing with maturity of a woman coming into her, young woman coming into her own as a young woman with what happens at the beginning of the film, which to me is still this is the genius of Brian De Palma and even Sissy Spacek. To do that scene, it's still one of the hardest scenes for me to even watch to this day. It's not an easy scene, and Sissy Spacek. And for those who don't know, we're talking about she has her period in the shower. Right. It's still a very difficult scene to watch, and that you have to take into two accounts: Sissy Spacek's performance and Brian De Palma's directing. I mean, that's just like. That's the way when inspiring filmmakers today really need to go back to like watching these movies, because that's how you create a disturbing scene in the movie without really needing much.
And I wonder if the average movie fan, when watches that movie, realizes the symbolism that's happening. I know, there I go again with the symbolism. But is happening in that scene, because when the actress now is 25, 26, but the character is supposed to be 16. So you have a girl who clearly, most women, there are exceptions, of course, but most women get their periods at, 12, 13.
Sure.
Yeah, kind of in there, right? I think that's a sort of a ballpark. So
some even younger, I guess, right? I mean,
there's always, of course, it's exceptions. It's not an exact science. But now she's getting her period at 16, that is generally a little late. So that would be perceived as there's a lot of suppression there. There's a lot of stress and trauma that she's experiencing at home, which could be part of the suppression of this natural biological sort of thing that happens to her. And when you're watching the scene play out, you have this beautiful, music that's happening, and it's kind of done in slow motion. And there's almost, and I say this, I hope the chat room is mature enough to get what I'm saying, there's a sexualized sort of approach to this scene. But
are you talking about just the scene with her? Or are you talking about the lead up to going through the locker room? Anybody could look at that and go, oh, look, teenage girl's naked. Right.
But I'm talking about with
the scene itself. Okay.
Right, because you're watching a girl become a woman, right? Yep. That's the symbolism of it, right? So you see her, if you didn't know that this was Carrie, and you just were watching the movie from here up and you watch only 30 seconds of it, you might think that this girl is masturbating in the shower, right? Because of the slow motion and because the way she's going like this, it looks like she's feeling herself up. That's not really what's going on there, right? She's going like this, but because they've slowed it down, it looks like she's touching herself erotically, which really she's not. But what that's doing is showing it's that transition. It's almost like that metamorphosis, right? That is happening between girl and woman, right? She's becoming a woman now, right? She's becoming this beautiful woman. And then all of a sudden we see that metamorphosis take place and the shock and horror on her face because she doesn't understand what's going on, because that she doesn't even know what a period is
Yep.
because it's been suppressed. So that's amazing. Now I'm not saying that people in the chat room didn't pick that up. We get a lot of smart people that are watching us and those, you know, in those films. But the average person, there might be a lot of people that don't see it, you know, that don't see that.
True.
And to me, it's clear as day. It's not a girl. It's not supposed to be erotic. It's supposed to be this metamorphosis, you know, that is horrific to this girl. I don't know. Do you see it the same way?
I absolutely, between that and even just to backtrack it a little bit, the lead into that, the scene before where the girl's playing volleyball,
Yeah.
and PJ Soul gives her the whack with the hat. You're really setting the tone for this movie because it's not just, you know, PJ hitting Sissy Spacek. It's how PJ does it and PJ's reaction, along with what Sissy Spacek's going through at that moment, and then leading into that moment with the shower scene. All that added together really does set the tone for who this character is. And again, the execution of the directing of De Palma and Sissy Spacek, the actress, you know, there's no reason why, you know, she doesn't get nominated, because her performance just totally, 100%. You're right now, you're only 2 minutes into this movie and you already are there with this character. Right.
And the thing that's so fascinating as well is that Sissy Spacek, of course, she has a unique look to her, right? And when she is in the shower and she leaves the shower and she's absolutely just, she doesn't know what's going on, because like we said, she doesn't know about this biological evolutionary kind of thing that happens to women at a certain age. So you see the fear on her face, and immediately you can tell that we're not just seeing a girl who is just starting to get picked on. We're seeing a girl that has been an outcast for a long time. Yeah. And we're just sort of jumping right into the middle of or the end, so to speak, of her story. And,
that's true. I mean, really, when you think about it, it is the end. It's not even the middle. That this is the third act, which is that makes it even more unique on how King wrote it and how it's delivered to us as the audience on screen.
Exactly. Now, obviously, the movie and the story does have a beginning, a middle, and an end, a first, second, and third act in and of itself. But the overall bigger picture, like Tony just hit the nail on the head, this whole movie, this story is really the third act of her life. Yep. You know, because it's been clear that this shit's been going on for a very long time. And it was brilliant. I mean, just really well executed. And of course, the portrayal of the mom was just brilliant as well. And
oh my God. Yeah. You know, she was in what was the movie she was in prior? She hadn't done movies up until that point. She was out of doing movies. I think I read this here. Hold on. Let me pull it back up on my little notes here that I.
Sure. Yeah. Bring those notes up, baby.
Notes up. Yeah, The Hustler. She was in the Piper Laurie was in the movie The Hustler, 1961, The Hustler, for anyone who's seen that. And she not done, based on this now, she had not done anything, and it was her first role since that movie. So you're talking 1961, 1975. You're almost talking close to 15 years, because I think they filmed it in 75. It was released in 76.
Right.
You know, and you come back and you get nominated for an Oscar. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she kills it as the mom, you know,
a great performance.
Super religious, you know, mom that, you know, is going to shelter their kid. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you about, well, this is what happens to you when you become a woman and all that. Like, and she just totally like is that. And I've met women like that in real life. Like, there's so many, especially living in the Bible Belt here in the United States.
Oh, I bet.
You see a lot of that here in this area.
You do. And what's so sad is that I mean, it's very, as sensational as it was, and obviously there's a bit of theater there, you know, in terms of the acting. There are children in those types of situations right now.
Absolutely. Even right now, you think about that. This movie's almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there are mothers who still treat their kids like that to this day.
Yes. 100 and like legitimately like that. Now, the one thing I will say, if I had a criticism of Carrie, if I did, it might be this, that the mother is so extreme that it is likely that Carrie White, it's likely now that she may not have made it to high school. She may have been secluded and homeschooled by her mother, because I could see that her mother wouldn't have want to lose that control on her daughter and allow that to happen. Because once you get to the high school age, you become more independent, you get into boys. The mother knows the period's going to come, right? The daughter doesn't, but the mother certainly does. Yep. So, I mean, you could make that. You could say that she's so crazy and so, Bible, so, like cult sort of.
Super religious.
Yeah, cult environment, that to let her daughter go to public school, seems a little, and high school at that.
You're right, because
seems a little much.
No, you are right, and I get what you're saying, because you ever hear that story about Ruby Ridge, the family that lived up in the mountains there? One of the I states. I think it's either Iowa or Idaho. I can't remember. It's up there in the corner. But they were like that super radical religious family that really sheltered themselves off from the entire world, and like their kids were homeschooled. And so you're right. I do think I get what you're saying with regards to Carrie's mom in here, that yes, if she's really like this, you're probably right. She probably wouldn't have let Carrie gone to high school. So yeah, I mean, and I think Dave and I, when we're saying this, we're not criticizing the movie at all. But like, if we had to pick one thing out to say, De Palma could have backed that up a little bit,
or to King as well. I mean, it goes back to his book, and that's just because people. I mean, when you're that radical, when you're that crazy. Carrie would have gone to elementary. I could see that. But once you start hitting 12, 13 and you start becoming a woman, so to speak, a very young woman, you're not a woman yet, but they need to be able to have that control. And Carrie is the only thing in this mother's life. She's the only thing. So if she loses Carrie, she's lost everything. And she treats her like the way she does because she wants the control over it. So in a real life environment, she probably would have never made it to high school. She probably would have been homeschooled. Yep. They would have probably lived in that house, and they would have been those crazy, weird people that you see on occasion.
Every town has them.
That's right. So, I mean, but that's, I mean, it's a movie, it's a book, right? We can kind of go, who knows? But there also could be examples of some crazy lady that does allow her kid to go to high school, right? So this might be the opportunity. So if I had a criticism, that might be it. But the rest of the movie is just, I love the slow burn aspect. I'm a slow burn guy. I love seeing when she's at the mirror in her little room there, and she's looking in the mirror, but the mirror doesn't break. It doesn't just go, it starts to warp back and forth like this. Oh, it's nice. Really
and you're
nice.
Talking 1976 effects too,
Yes, exactly. So I really like that. I found it really funny. This is kind of a funny scene, when John Travolta starts, getting the blowjob, and he's sitting there.
From Nancy, or that's the woman's name in real life, but Chris was her character name.
What I find funny about this, though, is as he's sitting there, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, she can really speak as she's giving this guy a blowjob.
I thought that too. Like Nancy Allen is the actress's name. When she's giving him the BJ there in the car, I'm like, most women don't be calling out dudes' names when that shit's going on. But
no, but it's so clear. Like it's like you see the back of her head, you know what's implied,
right?
Because the back of her head is going up and down. Travolta's going like this, like he's enjoying it, but you still hear as clear as day, her going.
And I'm sorry.
Do you know what I hate? I hate Carrie White. I'm thinking, how are you? Like, why doesn't it sound like, I hate Carrie White? That's what it should sound like.
Yeah, I know. And then, like,
that might have been too much.
He's not in the moment enjoying it, and he's gonna look down and be like, "Who?" You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't get. I get the turn for that scene. I get like how they're doing this whole setup. I thought the turn with her character, Chris, Nancy Allen's character, Chris, I thought was well done at the school during the detention, and how that unfolded. It didn't feel forced or anything like that. And then how she lures Travolta into the mix.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but you're right. I was like, that's not really believable. She should have just been making out with him. Yes. Maybe kissing on his ear or something like that.
Right. And then use the dialogue when she's, kissing his ear and kissing his neck. Exactly. She can then just, we can actually see her say it because
whispering it softly in his ear.
She must have loads of experience to be able to speak that clearly doing that. I'm just saying, I'm just the messenger. The messenger.
For all we know, Nancy could have been a mime.
Maybe she knows how to throw her. Oh, maybe she's got some weird psychic powers that we don't know about either. So that.
Hey, by the way, speaking of Travolta, do you think I have to have to search this? But do you think he was the originator of "Get Her Done"? He says it in the pig scene when he's going to kill the pig. He says, "Get her done." Is he the first that? I mean, then Larry the Cable Guy, saw it in Carrie and incorporated that into his bit.
Well, maybe. I mean, obviously, it was written for him to say, so it probably existed before Travolta said it.
I always thought it was Larry the Cable Guy
line. Yeah,
no.
I always
his, line, and then I watched Carrie again here recently because I had forgotten about that. I'm like, well, fuck, Travolta saying "Get her done." You know what I mean?
No, I've known about "Get her done." It's like it's a hick, it's a redneck thing. It's been around for a long time. Maybe Travolta's the first one to say it in a movie. Maybe
like to make it almost like a pop culture pop phrase.
Maybe,
you know what I mean?
Maybe it's entirely possible. Entirely possible. I forgot about this because again, I hadn't seen the movie in a number of years. So when I watched it again, I loved the ending setup, how everything it's like this 5-minute slow motion scene. It's this build up,
yes.
And although like if they had gone on a bit longer, I was probably going to go, okay. But it was actually, it was the nice balance between the two. And then realizing that the other two were like, oh my God, they didn't even know that shit was going to go down. Was an interesting sort of set of circumstances. And I forgot that the teacher gets it I knew everybody she takes out her revenge, but I forgot that the teacher who was basically nice to her the whole time, she even gets it in the end as well. I think that's written
for the movie. It's not in the book.
It's not in the book?
I think I haven't read the book in a while. Someone correct me if I'm wrong who's read it recently, but I believe the teacher, it's like in Jaws, Hooper dies in the book and lives in the movie.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think if I'm not mistaken, and like I said, it's been a minute since I've read the book. The teacher lives in the book, but dies in the movie.
Okay. Cool.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. But it's the mood. Here we go. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, the mood is great. A lot of 70s films, of course, focus on story and mood and things like that because they want to utilize the environment as a big part of the way to tell a story.
Sure.
So there were a lot.
Screen. I loved how they did that in the editing.
That was great. Yeah, that was good too. I really liked that.
And that instant go from this real nice soft blue to that hard red.
Yes.
I loved,
and just the look, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the look on Carrie's face, she looks fucking crazy. Take the blood away and just have her standing there doing that and scare the bejesus out of you.
Oh, are you kidding me? That moment, I don't know if that was Sissy Spacek or DePaula telling her, but when she's walking down the steps and then she basically does like a Michael, she turns slowly, almost to kind of admire what she's just done. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or, she does, you can interpret that two ways. She's admiring what she's done, or she doesn't know what she has done. Right. I feel like in that moment when she's turning and she's looking, I feel like she's admiring him.
Right.
Or admiring, what she has just done. Very similar to like Michael doing the head tilt there, when he kills Bob.
Right. Yeah, it could I mean, it's a similar sort of, she becomes very stoic and very sort of just within herself. And she begins to focus on nothing but just getting revenge. I mean, she can't, and it's what an awful thing to be able to go home and almost
going home, coming out the gym. I love that shot, that slow, she's walking out in slow motion. The flames are behind her.
Oh, it's so good.
They just don't make movies like that anymore, No. I remember watching that, just sitting there thinking, man, how did we go from making great shit like this to where we are today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, I just that shot was, but having to go home and realize that she has to almost admit to her mother that her mother was right. Do you know what I mean? That's the, that walk home is actually the walk of shame. Do you know what I mean? Because she has to walk home, realize they're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. I mean, it's confirmation that she almost, even though her mother is not right in the bigger picture, right, the way that things unfolded create the illusion impression that she was. And so when Carrie walks home and then she turns and she's walking up those steps, it's, oh my God, my mother was right. And then after she has her bath, you see her lean into her mother. You were right, Mom. They laughed at me, or whatever she says there. And then her mother, of course, goes batshit crazy and
Yeah.
Stabbed her in the back. But that too, like, that's painful as a viewer to watch. It's about story. When you create good stories with great performances, it's the stories that are.
What's his name? William Catt, Greatest American Hero. I mean, you can't undermine his performance as, he comes across as a real genuine. You think he's a douchebag when his poem's being read and all that stuff. You think that he's being a jerk at the beginning of the film, and he's going to be that typical, jock jerk type guy. But then he actually turns out to be a really cool dude who you believe that he genuinely likes Carrie. The only thing I would ask is, like, are you really going to try to sell me that William Catt is going to get hit by a bucket and be knocked the fuck out on the ground? I mean, like, I still have a hard time. I mean, yes, a bump on the head and be like, fuck, that hurt. But knocked out cold, like he just got hit by Tyson.
Out. Yeah, but it's great because it's slow motion. So it's like this. He's there and he's like, and then hits him and he goes.
Right, down, like. He didn't have the suit. He didn't have his American Hero suit.
Maybe that was it. The only thing that was missing was, and then that's what should have been there. No, but it's great. Like, there's so many, and it's not that there aren't great horror movies today. Of course there are, but I just mean that what makes a lot of these older horror films so appealing to watch is they do have a visual aesthetic to them that feels, there's a lot of things at play. It reminds us of a simpler time. It reminds us of our childhood. But there's a very strong focus on story and characters. And you don't see that a lot in mainstream Hollywood horror movies. You will from time to time. But that's what horror movies, and it's not that there weren't bad horror movies back then. There were. Again, this is where nuance comes into play, right? We have to understand what I'm saying is that, but a lot of focus. There were some wonderful stories. It's just a really sad, great story. Who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, who cares about the blood? I mean, that's a nice touch. Who cares about this guy? The story of this girl, that is suppressed by her mother because her mother's a religious freak, and she's bullied at school. I mean, the crux of that story is so rich, and especially back then in 1976, and it was so fascinating to watch the performances and the way things play out. So I think there's just sort of this thing where a lot of horror movies today, a lot of mainstream horror movies tend to want to focus on how do we scare people, when it's like, no, figure out how you tell the story. Tell people a story and let the story scare people, not moments scare people.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why we also go back to the 70s, especially in the 80s with horror films versus to today, you look at from like the early 70s and you talk about movies like The Exorcist, Texas, Black Christmas, and then you get to the mid 70s, you could say Jaws and Carrie, and you get to the later 70s, you got Halloween, and you're talking about films that today you don't list off 10 or 12 films like I just, or 10 films like I just did. You know what I mean? Right. We don't do that. I mean, we can say The Conjuring, but since The Conjuring, what can we say that's been really, really good? Okay. Yes, I have enjoyed The Conjuring spin-offs and the sequels. They've been fun. Not on the level as the first film. You know what I mean? Not on that same level. Right. So we don't do that. We don't have that, like, where we're cranking out. I mean, yes, you can start to say movies like Get Out and Us and Hereditary, there is something that's starting to brew here now within the recent 2 years or 3 years. But, believe it or not, Conjuring is almost fucking 10 years old. I mean, it's close. It's not quite 10, but it's getting up there. It's
only 4 years away.
When you think about that, like, wait, in 4 years, this thing's going to be a decade. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like the movie just came out 2 years ago.
That's right.
That's my point. When we're, it's too early to start talking about Hereditary and Get Out and Us into that type of category of the 70s movies that I just listed off. I do think there is an evolution change here. I think we're heading in a great direction for horror films. It's exciting to see this transformation and these new directors bringing new ideas to the table. So hopefully we do get back to talking to movies like what we're talking about tonight with Carrie, and how I said earlier at the beginning of the stream, and Carrie being in the royalty of horror films. So I think we're there again. So like Dave said, it's not like we're knocking on current stuff. It's been a while since we've had this type of a run where you can list off 10, 12 great films within a decade.
I agree, and I think it's important to remember too that great horror movies generally have something for everybody that watches it. Slasher movies tend to be a lot of people's favorite sub genre. That's fine, but it's a very niche area, and there's a specific reason why the heyday for the slasher genre was the 80s, and why it just never has been able to. Why it's really now designated as, it always was a B movie at its best, and now it's really just sort of this subgenre that isn't respected, and it is to a degree, but really great horror movies or thrillers, which you could make the argument that Carrie's not a horror movie or just a horror movie, it's a thriller.
It is. Yeah.
And so great thriller movies, great horror movies, whatever it is, they tend to have something for everybody. So you can get lost in the spectacle if you want, you can get lost in the creepiness if you want, you can get lost in the story if you want, you can get lost in the cinematography if you want. There's many different things that, people go to, that you can take away from a good horror movie. And slasher movies are a little one-dimensional. Which is why, again, the Halloween series, there I go, talking about Halloween, but it's a great example. Halloween, it has something that the other slashers don't, which is a killer that we don't know a lot about. We've often said that we know why Jason does what he does. We know where he comes from. We know why Freddy does what he does. We know what he's doing. Michael, we don't, generally, right? So there's the anonymity of the enigma that is him creates this fascination and interest that tends to last forever and ever. And so when you create something in horror where people, I get something that you might not get out of it, or you might get something that I might not get out of it, and then Bob might get something that neither of us don't care about, but he gets that is a lot of old, like The Exorcist is a perfect example of that. You can watch The Exorcist on its own merits and enjoy it for a horror movie, but if you're really religious, it's a whole other ball game, and then you can watch it for the effects, you can watch it for the music, it comes down to great storytelling at the end of the day.
It does.
You make a good horror movie, there's a great story with relatable characters, you're halfway there to success,
there's a reason why, we go to these films, like Date Night or something like that. And if I'm going to show, something beyond the slasher genre, and she's like, okay, well, what else, but what other horror movies? Carrie, you're going to hit a home run with, same thing with Christine as well, too. Again, like I said a few moments ago, if you're just joining us, current horror movies, we're heading into this direction again, and I like it. Hopefully we continue to crank out some more good shit, but it's been a long fucking time since you could be excited again as a horror fan, which is why, we do stuff like this where we're backtracking and talking about all these great old movies, because they're home runs. Even when you watch Carrie, there's something even about the daylight shots that they shot making this that has a creepy element to it. That today, when you watch modern horror movies, and I'll just eliminate the last few years with It Follows, Get Out, and stuff like that, but we'll go a little bit before that. The daylight atmosphere doesn't give me that creep factor that you get when you watch, like Dave just said, The Exorcist, or when you watch Carrie, or when you watch like even old Friday the 13th, part of that film is shot, or even John Carpenter's original Halloween, right. When Michael's standing out there, creeping out in Mr. Riddle's backyard, or, standing there in the front of the bushes and shit like that. Today they're not executing it the same way. I don't know if it's because it's shot digitally and digitally doesn't give it the same look like a film would give it, with right. the, grainy and whatnot, but just doesn't have that same mood like it did back then.
Yeah. A big part of that is obviously film, but production value. You can shoot on 35 millimeter now and make a movie and it wouldn't look like it did in 1976. So, yeah. Film is part of it. How films are edited now. Films are, even if you shoot on film, you're editing it digitally anyway, yep. So, I remember when I was in college, I had the opportunity to edit 16 millimeter on the old Steinbecks. Or
nice.
The Steinbecks, and you put the film on there, which is what they would do. And the reason why they would call, like you actually back in the day, you would literally cut the film and tape the scenes together. Now you digitally cut, but back in the day, you physically used to cut film. So when you so a scene
Look
would
down
end,
your little glass thing.
that's right. You would look and you would take the thing and you'd go like this, and then you would take some Scotch tape and you would literally tape it together.
Scene.
Right. And there were, I don't know if people are, but for those of you that are old enough, when you'd watch old movies, do you remember sometimes if you're watching an old film, you would see almost what looks like a cigarette burn just kind of flash in the corner for like 2 seconds, or not 2 seconds, like half a second. You'd see like a blip or whatever it is. That's a cut.
That's a cut.
That's a cut. That means that something was spliced there. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, we don't see that anymore because, like I said, even if movies, like even films that are shot on 35 today are digitally edited. So nobody's sitting there behind a Steinbeck doing this anymore. I mean, maybe they would for some specific reason, perhaps. I never like to rule out it completely, but yeah, it was a different process back then. And the industry, look, it's always been about making money, always, but it wasn't as, it was cutthroat then too. It's always been cutthroat, but it's relative to its time, right? I mean, now it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it's been more cutthroat than it ever is. And 20 years from now, it'll be more cutthroat then than it is now. And it just continues to go and go and go. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of great stories and a lot of great characters. And every now and then one does come along that you go, oh, that's so awesome. I love that. And there are reasons for it. Generally when you watch something like Hereditary, or you watch something like Get Out, or you watch something like, Insidious or The Conjuring, it's very rarely you will hear people say, oh, I love it because of the scares. That's not really why you love it. You love it because of the tone, because of the story, the way the story is told, the characters, the performances, that's what's going to get you. It's always going to get you. It always will. Story will always, I was going to say something else there. Story will always get you. Always. It doesn't mean that it's going to be successful, but that's even horror movies, slashers. That's a different thing. That's just guys stalking teenagers.
Now, with regards to the ending of Carrie, did you ever think that was left open as far as like to create a sequel, or was that just like more or less, Stephen King's, letting you think like, okay, either this is a dream, or did it really happen, or did it not happen?
Okay, is the ending in the book? That ending in the book?
Yeah.
It's to say, okay. Then
I'm asking you the question, how do you interpret?
Right.
Do you interpret it as it's a sequel, or or that it's left open for a sequel as a possibility that Carrie's still alive, or do you feel that was all of a dream sequence?
I take it more literally, actually. I think it was a dream. Well, it clearly was a dream. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I knew that the second we started seeing her walking up with her, because of the hue that was painted
around her,
right? Which you see a little bit of that in Elm Street, the very first.
It's true. That is true.
Elm Street. You see a tiny bit of that. So that's just the visual way of telling you that something's not right here. Something is not what it seems. I remember the very first time I watched it. Some people, when I was doing my top 10 favorite sort of or most shocking endings list, I didn't put Carrie on there. Not that it's not shocking, but somebody was like, you can't tell me that you weren't shocked by that. And I was like, actually, I didn't. I can't tell you that I knew her hand was going to come out there, but the setup, I mean, when I was watching that movie for the first time when I was about 16 or whatever it was, I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what. I didn't know what was going to happen. But so when her hand came out, it didn't surprise me. It didn't shock me. But I think it's used more as a metaphor. I mean, it's used more as that the effect that Carrie has had on this girl. And when you see her going, it's the psychological impact that Carrie's revenge will live on forever in the girl, even though the girl wasn't, you see, you have to think of it like this. The girl, even though she wasn't really part of the group that put up the blood, right?
Right. She kind of had to redeem. She redeemed herself a little bit.
Right. If it wasn't for her, it wouldn't have happened.
And she has to live with that.
And she has to live with that. And so you see her at the end grabbing onto her mom, I guess it was, and she's going, like that hysteria is telling you that even though Carrie is dead, she's going to live on in you, and you are never going to forget what you did. Yep. And that is the symbolism of the ending. I that's what I think is happening there.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, and you got to hats off again to Sissy SpaceX. She's another trooper here, man. She that's her hand. She wanted to get buried underneath there. She didn't want to, you know, they really wanted to have a stunt person to do it. And she's like, fuck no, man, I've done this whole movie. No way you're cutting me out of it. She wanted it to be her hand to grab onto the actress's arm. Yeah, I agree with you with regards to that. It's a great ending. The symbolism for the ending, you know, as far as like her now, this girl going to be tormented now for the rest of her life for what she did to Carrie. Because you're right. If she doesn't encourage William Katt's character to take her to the prom, this shit happens.
It doesn't happen.
So yeah,
even though, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say because so she's got to live with this for the rest of her life. So yes, the symbolism of that dream is that the evil is still there, but it's not in the literal sense of that it's like for warranting a sequel, even though they did do a sequel. I don't know. Do we really want to get into that?
No, I've never.
The chick was hot. I will say this: it was late '90s, and that girl with the dark curly hair, like, yeah, she was fucking goth hot, like borderline goth hot.
I don't remember it because I never saw it. Because I remember
that's all I remember is that it was just this girl who had. And then, like her veins got all over her face. Like she got very veiny when she flipped into her Carrie moment. But other than that, she was just hot. And I just remember the movie sucking. And
I never saw it. So no, I probably didn't. But
as far as the ending of the original film, I agree. You're right as far as that's the symbolism of it, and I agree with what you're saying with that.
Yeah. It's clear. It's you know, taking it at face value. Somebody might be like, oh, it means she's alive still. But it's, you know, it does. Yes, but she's alive figuratively you know, within this young girl, even though the girl wasn't part of the mayhem of the bucket and all that kind of stuff. And in reality, when she saw it, she was thinking, what the fuck, right? It still wasn't, it still was her fault in some weird way. And Carrie doesn't know that she wasn't part of it. You see, so, or never knew that. So it's her subconscious, you know, it's symbolism. Again, it's her subconscious having to live with the fact that she, you know, like Tony said, I mean, if she didn't convince William Katt's character to go out with Carrie, then it wouldn't have happened. So it's, a great ending. And the ending, it doesn't need a sequel. It's complete. It doesn't need a sequel at all. It's complete. It's absolutely complete. Okay, so should we go on to Christine?
Speaking of endings, I've been dying to ask you this question since we agreed to do this show. Do you think John Carpenter got what he wanted out of Christine, what he was aiming for with Halloween? And the reason why I asked this question is the ending. You see that subtlety of the car moving, that it may start to fix itself, but we never get a sequel. Similar to Michael being gone at the end of the original film, but unfortunately, we know what happens afterwards. Do you think Carpenter is satisfied that Christine, you got to admit, Christine holds up for the fact that they never fucked with it afterwards. They could have, and they could have totally fucking ruined the masterpiece that Carpenter did with this film, but it's never been touched, and I'm glad they didn't.
Well, I think John Carpenter is a very smart guy, and obviously when he did Christine, he's creating a movie that actually has source material, whereas Halloween did not. So he was in effect the writer and director of Halloween. When it comes to Christine, he's just the director. He didn't write the source material. So I don't know how the book ends, but similar. Okay, well, I will say that. Look, John Carpenter's a smart guy, and I don't think he's a big sequel guy.
He's not.
I think he's a guy that understands that you can tell a complete story in one movie that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and sometimes it's okay to leave the audience wanting more. As a matter of fact, that's what you want to do. You know, you want to get out while things are good. So if the book ends that way, that's not really John Carpenter's idea to do that. But I would say that, yes, it's a similar thing in the fact that you were never really supposed to know what happened next. You just kind of go, I wonder if, you know, it's a similar thing, I guess. Yeah. It doesn't need a sequel.
Because when you look at the parallels of Halloween and Christine, even though, again, Carpenter didn't write Christine, Christine was released as a novel in April of '83, and then they shortly did the movie afterwards. It wasn't much long, And I often wonder, was King inspired by Halloween? Because you look at the beginning of the film, and great setting, Bad to the Bone, being played, and we'll get into how the execution of the '50s music, how well Carpenter did that as part of storytelling as well, too.
That's right.
And nothing was really explained. You know what I mean? You're right into it. That was the whole point of Michael. When you look at Michael's character, no explanation needed. Opening sequence of the film: Michael's a kid, kills his sister, boom. We're going on, 15 years later. In essence, Christine is literally the same shit.
Yeah, I think it's possible that King may have been somehow
inspired,
possibly.
Because there's a lot of similarities when you look at the two films.
But I think it more is that Stephen King wrote a story about a car that comes to life. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I think because of the nature of the ambiguity of his story, perhaps John Carpenter was, in effect, the right guy for the job because of what he did with Halloween. So maybe it's not that Christine was necessarily inspired by Halloween, although it very well could have been in part, but more so that, hey, I've wrote this thing that, this car is almost like your Michael Myers in some ways. There's a lot of parallels there.
Very much so.
Right. Maybe we should get the guy that knows how to make a movie like that. And so in effect, John Carpenter may have been actually the right guy for the job. And obviously he also scored the movie as well. And yeah, like his creative choices to utilize the 50s music,
as part of the story that's being told. And it's like, this is Christine talking to you. And he does it at the right, when Arnie goes back into the car after dropping his date off. And, that 50 songs, Don't Know Why I Love You, Don't Know Why I Care. I feel like that's Christine talking to him.
Of course it is.
Why am I hanging on to you, dude?
100%.
If you ain't gonna, commit to me, you're fucking gone, dude.
That's right. 100%. Absolutely. And I believe there were some musical changes from the book in the movie as well. Like there were certain things I think Carpenter changed a bit to help tell his story more effectively. And no, I agree. I also love the shot when it's reverse photography, when the car is all crumpled and comes back to life. That's so cool. Yeah, that's all.
Says to her, show me, and she comes back. Oh, absolutely. And the lights come on, and then Carpenter's, synth starts going. There's times when I'm watching the movie that if I turn my head like this and close my eyes, I feel like I'm watching either Halloween 2 or Halloween 3 because of that synth sound.
Right.
Which Halloween 2 was one of the first movies to really to hear that stylization of utilizing that synthesizer sound. I don't know if Season of the Witch and Carrie, who came out before who? Not Carrie, Christine. Season of the Witch or Christine?
Christine came out after.
After Season of the Witch. So, okay. So, yeah. So when you're listening to the score of Christine, that yes, there's definitely a Halloween feel to it with Carpenter's score.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I just want to double check that I was right on that.
They've got to be close. If Season of the Witch did come out before it?
Season of the Witch was 82.
82.
And Christine was 83. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then you look at... When King wrote this too, I'd love to ask him the question: was he thinking of Happy Days, Arnie Cunningham? You know what I mean? Like, were you thinking of Happy Days, bro, when you wrote the character name out? Because it's just so like, I'm thinking of Richie Cunningham, and it is set. And the more Arnie develops throughout the film, and from the geek. He develops from the geek to that 50s type character.
That's true.
And I just thought of were you thinking of Happy Days when you wrote the name out?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of, I think it probably has to do, you have a guy that almost looks like he could be a potential, greaser in development. Yep. Right. Yep. You know what I mean? So he's a bit of a nerd, even though it's the 70s, right? Late 70s.
The time period of the movie is 78,
right,
79.
Right. So he's kind of that guy, but he can easily suddenly become this greaser. So it's almost like he becomes part of who the car would have been for. Yep. You know what I mean? It's like the car chooses him. you know, because he has that potential. The car didn't choose anybody else. The
No,
car
it
chose him.
chose him.
Right. And it's the car was manipulating Arnie into becoming, you know, the era for which the car comes from.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's, and essentially Arnie becoming somebody he's actually not.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, no, that is, yeah, I love that. And of course, as we were talking about off air, the old guy that essentially gives him the car or sells him the car, you know, whatever, is the old guy from Home Alone.
Home Alone, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was the scary guy from Home Alone. So that's kind of funny. And he doesn't look that much. Well, I guess Home Alone was 1990. This was 83. So that's only 7 years.
7 years.
You know,
yeah, not much. And of course, we mentioned it before going live that Kevin Bacon actually had the part. He was going to be Arnie. And he kind of shafted them because he got casted in this little movie called Footloose and decided to do that instead. And
yeah,
it's
too bad that thing didn't do well.
I know, it's too bad Footloose became a total blockbuster bomb, right? You know,
that's right.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to think that if Bacon had never got the role in Footloose, what Christine could have been like, you know, had he stayed with the part, and not given to Keith Gordon.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Not that I think things just, the universe tends to just work itself out sometimes, because I don't think any of us could ever envision someone else playing the lead in Footloose. And the same thing here with, Christine. I don't think we could picture really anyone else playing, Arnie. However, I could picture someone else playing I call him Cougar from Top Gun. He plays Cougar in Top Gun, but he plays Arnie's best friend in the movie.
Yeah.
He definitely, as far as acting chops go, was the definitely weakest link. The girl who plays the love interest, who's also part of the twins from Friday the 13th Part 4. She was fine. Yeah, I had no problems with her. Yeah. But him, man, he just his acting at times opposite to Keith Gordon, who played Arnie, was really weak. I mean, really fucking weak. And I'm thinking to myself, Carpenter, man, why would you have gone with him? I don't get that, because you're really good at casting. He just was bad. No,
I agree. I mean, there's a couple. He's a. It feels like I'm watching a stage play.
Very much.
Whenever
so.
You're watching, obviously acting. On-camera acting comes from the theater, which is why years and years and years ago in the movies from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, acting tended to be very big and very, well, if that's the way it's going to be, blah, 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 or whatever. It's quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And all these guys, I mean, they're very big, and because you're coming from the theater, which is where acting originated from. We've learned over the years, of course, to temper that down a lot and make it a little more conversational and realistic. And of course, by the 70s, we were sort of on that route anyway. But yes, Arnie's performance is at times very theatrical. But when I think of Kevin Bacon in that role, certainly Arnie has more of the greaser look.
Does. It's I'm trying to picture Kevin Bacon as a greaser. Not that he couldn't pull it off. He definitely could have.
Yeah, but he looks very 80s. I mean, I think Kevin Bacon would have been very 80s. I think Kevin Bacon would have played, Arnie's best friend, Cougar there. I mean, he looks, that would have been suited for a Kevin Bacon role.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. The Arnie best friend role, the jock. Yeah, he totally could. You
wanted somebody, I don't know if Kevin Bacon, the guy who plays Arnie, Keith, what's his name? Keith
Gordon.
Keith Gordon. Yeah. Naturally, I think, even on his own, probably had a nerdy quality appearance to just the man himself.
Sure.
Whereas with somebody like Kevin Bacon...
Clearly, he's short. You see that on screen, the height difference. Right. And he's kind of a thin guy.
Yeah, so you look at Kevin Bacon, you try to have him opposite of the Cougar guy. I forget his name now. It almost looks like two jocks hanging out, right? You needed somebody that was the antithesis of the friend, right? I mean, you needed somebody that was the opposite, that was this nerdy guy that the bigger jock sort of kind of maybe felt sorry for. Maybe they've known each other since they were, 8, and he's kind of just, looking out for him. And then you see this transformation that he's still this nerdy guy who thinks he's cool, and he's getting all the... Come to think of it, I don't know if it would have worked with Bacon, even if he had maybe it would have, and maybe we'd be sitting here not even thinking about it. But when I look at Arnie, definitely in terms of a look and the contrast that you were going for, because even when he's all cool and like, what the fuck, man, he looks ridiculous because he's clearly not that way. And that's it's a false dichotomy, but I mean, that's what you want, you want that contrast there.
And the language in there, the reason why they got the approval by the MPAA, is that who does the rating
Motion
board?
Picture Association of America, yeah.
So the reason why they got away with that language was because of a little movie called Scarface, and how Pacino says "fuck you" 200 times, or uses the word
"fuck you."
Yeah, uses the word like 200 times in that film. So that was their defense. That was Carpenter's defense to, hey, man, you're letting, De Palma, get away with this in Scarface.
That's right.
And so that's where the language, it makes me wonder though, because someone asked a good question here, which normally we don't take questions this early, but it works into what we're talking about right now. Could a movie like Christine be remade and done today? Because there are a lot of flaws in Christine, even though it is really good at the same time. I know the contrast of that too, but like we're talking about here, the actor who played Arnie's best friend, and then there's some other little things that I felt they could have done that, in essence, if you thought about it, could you remake it today? Yes. And still set it in the 78, 79 time period. I would never change it. The problem is the language. Could you still get away with the language, the way people talk to each other and calling each other names, not meaning it intentionally, but just joking around like, hey, man, you're this, you're that, or whatever. I'm not going to say it now because I'll probably offend someone. Yeah. But back then, so that's the thing that you might lose out. You might lose out. Not saying that you have to always be that way, but that was the dynamics of the 70s. I mean, even Quentin Tarantino's catching some fire with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in his, his approach of filmmaking, and some critics.
I just saw that yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, did you like it?
I did.
There you go.
Yep.
So, yes, you could remake the movie. You shouldn't remake the movie because it's great in itself. Yeah. Yes, you could get away with it by, putting together a stronger cast to support the main antagonist, which is the car. And there were some other moments too, like we were talking about the villain in the movie, the Bob, I think was his name, the bully, who's the John Travolta wannabe lookalike. Again,
that's right.
He really was. Again, he wasn't a strong, even though he's going for the John Travolta look with the coiffy, wavy hair. He wasn't a strong actor. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying about, you could potentially remake this movie because other than Kevin Gordon or Keith Gordon, whatever his name is, that played Arnie, he was the best next to the car, out of the film. And then the old man there in the garage, he was really good too. But everybody else really surrounding him, his mom too, who plays Samantha Sanders on the original 90210, and she's kind of been the mom in a lot of shit.
I think
it's not like a bad cast, but because he was surrounded by a weak cast in Christine, you could make the argument that, yeah, you could remake the movie today.
Well, and I think you also have to remember too, and this is, I'm gonna say it. I mean, and this is not a knock on John Carpenter or anything like that. He's a talented filmmaker. He's made some good movies. But most of John Carpenter's movies, let's be honest, are at best B movies. And sometimes those are creative choices he's made, and sometimes it's the luck of the draw because he just doesn't want to work for the studios. And I understand that. But I mean, let's be honest, whether it's They Live, whether it's Prince of Darkness, whether it's Big Trouble in Little China, whether it's Christine, whether it's The Fog, whether it's Escape from now he's had some quality actors in some of those movies that help lift the movies up, like, Kurt Russell or Donald Pleasance or, whatever the case is. But John Carpenter, I don't think he's as good as Brian De Palma. And that's not to say that John Carpenter is not a good director. Right. No, of course not. But what I'm saying is that we put John Carpenter on a pedestal. That's fine. Okay. Yes, he's but right. But
there's because of one movie. It's not because of his filmography. Let's be real.
That's true. And that's a very good point. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have movies that people in the chat room love or certain people like. Sure. But let's watch They Live objectively. It's kind of cheesy. Let's watch
fun cheesy, but cheesy.
Of course, fun cheesy. Let's watch Big Trouble in Little China. let's watch, I don't know, one of my favorites that his gets knocked all the time, Village of the Damned, which in itself was a remake. It's got Kirstie Alley and what's his face, Superman.
Christopher Reeves.
That's right. So, but when you look at the quality of his movies, they have a very simple B movie vibe to them. Christine was no different. Right. So when you look at the acting of Arnie, it feels like I'm watching, Roddy Rowdy Piper and They Live. I mean, I'm watching there's some corn, always corn and some cheese in a Carpenter film. Right. And that's not, again, we have to separate the emotion and the emotional attachment, from the person and the art. I love John Carpenter, I do. But Tony's not wrong when at the end of the day, the way John Carpenter sort of revitalized a genre in the late 70s with, at that time, which was the most successful independent motion picture ever created, a little film called Halloween. Yeah. And he's gone off and done some cult classics like, Escape from New York and They Live and The Thing. Absolutely. The Thing, but look at the cast in The Thing. Right. Solid cast. So there's not a lot of B feel there. Right. But when you're doing a movie that doesn't have a lot of money, which is our B films, independent films, you don't have the money to hire the actors. Yep. Right. Or if you do, they have small bit parts like, okay, we only got Donald Pleasance for 5 days, so we'll pay him $10,000 or $25,000.
I feel like that's what they did with Christine with Gordon, or who played Arnie in the movie. Is that they invested the production budget into him because he was a solid actor, but they really surrounded him by a lot of weak actors. So yes, the argument could be made objectively looking at, even though it is a great film to watch. You can loosely call it a slasher film. Christine's the stalking and killing people and whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm saying that very loosely.
Yeah.
We're having fun with that term here.
Yeah,
but. You take a company like Blumhouse or A24, one of those two production companies, and you give it to them and say, okay, guys, keep it in the same period, but now let's maybe give it a little bit of a stronger cast.
Right.
One could make the argument, yes, you could remake it.
With A24, perhaps, if you give it to a major studio.
Like Blum?
You're going to get, the car is going to be a 2020 Corvette.
Yes, that. No,
it's going to be a Corvette. It's going to take place now. You're going to have a cast of sexy men and women, and it's going to be big boobs and, rippling abs. And that's what's going to be.
A24.
Yeah. So just give it to A24 maybe. I don't know.
So if A24 did it, yes, then you could totally do that. Because you're right. I totally forgot that's what Blumhouse would do. And
I think that's what a lot of people would do because it's about appealing to the demographic.
I don't even want to see it.
Yeah, it's about appealing to the demographic, and it would look like a Transformers movie gone awry. Like that's probably what it would look like. But no, I mean you're right. I mean it's Carpenter. I love Carpenter, and I love his movies, but his Rolodex of films are by and large at best fun B movies, and that doesn't mean they're not good, but they're not. They have the quality and feel of Assault on Precinct 13. They have that feel to them. And then, every now and then, like his bigger budget movie, like The Thing, which was a studio film, which bombed, and Big Trouble in Little China, which was a studio film and bombed, which is two reasons why Carpenter just fucking lost it and got out of it and went back to making more independent stuff. They feel bigger and they have better actors because they are a bit bigger. But his Rolodex is, and I love In the Mouth of Madness. It was shot up here. I love The Fog, Halloween, Escape from New York, The Thing, Village of the Damned. Even The Ward has its moments. But I'm not fooling myself into thinking that these are. His Rolodex is like Hitchcock. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. No. And that's not knocking him. It's just the reality of the situation. There's a number of factors that may have happened, but what he's made is pretty good. It's good.
Absolutely.
Shit.
And people do talk about his movies, but when it comes to him, it's Halloween. That's what people are talking about.
Of course. That's why you go see him.
Exactly. Even when we do the streams here, if we're going to talk Halloween, we already know that our stream numbers are going to be a lot higher. If I post a Halloween photo, it's, you know, people are going to like it, you know, whatever. If you do a Halloween video, you're going to get a lot of hits on it. It's the same thing. It's not minimizing Christine or The Thing or The Fog or any of his other stuff that he's done. But the truth of the reality is John Carpenter, why he gets put on a mantle is because of Halloween. It's not because of it. If he never did Halloween, people would probably look at him like, yeah, he was a solid, you know, B-movie, like you said, a B-movie horror director.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, and I might get a lot of shit for this, but he's not better than Wes Craven. I've had this debate with people, you know, who was the better director. Wes Craven.
Oh, Wes Craven's a better director.
You know, you look at what Craven, you know, even going back to Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, and then, you know, Nightmare, obviously, and everything else that, you know, Scream, and, you know, everything else he did in the middle. Craven, man, my God, like, again, it's not like minimizing John Carpenter and John Carpenter's skills, but you could put Craven in the seats of a big blockbuster, and chances are he's not going to flop. He's going to deliver it.
Right. And I would have loved to have seen Carpenter do other things, but I think part of it too is, you know, it all comes down to personality as well. Wes, you know, if you know Wes, he's been, so many people say that he's so down to earth, so relaxed, so smart.
Oh, everyone, you know, loves working with him.
Right. And then now if you think of Carpenter, not that people wouldn't like to work with him, but Carpenter has a different personality, different vibe, different, you know, he doesn't give a shit, or he wants this or that, whatever the case is. So now one of Carpenter's best movies that I think, which was a departure from movies like, you know, Christine, is Starman with Jeff Bridges. So I would have loved to have seen Carpenter go off and do more like that. Somebody in the chat room here, I think it was the Manhammer, said that Halloween wasn't a B movie. It absolutely is a B movie. A B movie. Totally a B movie. Look, B doesn't mean bad. Don't think that B means bad. Okay, what B movie means is that it is a low budget commercial motion picture. Okay, so it's a low budget film. Okay, now what low budget is relative to its time. In 1978, $325,000 was a lot of money for some, but even at the Hollywood level, it was very low budget. Got a limited release. I mean, absolutely. But a lot of people think that B movie means like direct to video. Oh, it's a B movie. No, there's Elm Street, for Christ's sakes, you could say was a B horror movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of Friday the 13th was a B horror movie. B doesn't mean bad. B just means low budget commercial films. They don't have a lot of money, right? So they don't, and it's independent. They don't necessarily have a lot of the big backings, but then every now and then you might make it independently, but then the studio picks it up. You know, I mean, A Nightmare on Elm Street saved New Line. New Line was nothing. New Line was on its way out.
Oh, God, did it ever.
Right? So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. You can make arguments for those things, right? I mean, to be fair, Friday the 13th was distributed by Paramount. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, so don't think B means bad. Okay, the B doesn't mean bad. It just means that it's not a wide released, you know, multi-million-dollar high budget film. That's what that means. Essentially. Okay. There's a lot of variables in there, but that's essentially what it means.
Yeah, no. And I agree with I just wanted to quickly comment on your thing with what you said about Wes Craven. I 100% agree with you. I mean, Kubrick is my all-time favorite director, and I love Carpenter. But if I had a chance to see, you know, people have asked that question, if you could work with anyone, I'd want to work with Wes Craven, because I feel like I could learn so much from him, and that he would be so easy to talk to and just soak up knowledge. You know, I feel like Carpenter would be like, get out of here, you little peon. And forget Kubrick. Kubrick would have me fucking doing the bitch boy chores, getting him coffee and all sorts of shit, you know, while people are on their 150th take and whatnot. And Carpenter strikes me as if I can't be a part of his inner circle, he's not going to give me any. And whereas Craven, I feel like, all right, dude, okay, so this is why I'm doing this, and, you know, whatever. And I feel like Craven would like take me under his wing like his son. You know what I mean?
Craven appears to have, from what I hear, the reputation of being very personable and very approachable. Right. Carpenter, not that Carpenter isn't or couldn't or was not, but Carpenter definitely has a different vibe to his persona and personality, you know, which I'm not saying it is, could be part of the reason why he's taken the career path he's had. He doesn't want to answer to anybody, doesn't want to play by the rules, doesn't want to play the game. And you know what?
I love that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? But if you don't want to play by the rules, you don't want to play the game, and you don't want to do what the studio says, then this is your path that you're going to take, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but these are just choices that people make. So I'm not knocking his Rolodex of films. I'm just saying that for the most part, his movies have been in the B area. So when we look at Christine and we look at the feel of the movie and the acting, it's pretty on par with what we see in a Carpenter film.
Yep.
By and large, and every now and then you get a movie like The Thing where it's like, wow, but you got great actors in there, right? So
absolutely. And the thing with remaking Christine today, like you were just saying too, with Blumhouse doing it, we were just talking about this earlier. The thing that makes Christine so great is that she's speaking through those 1950 songs.
Yes.
And being that 1958 Plymouth, I just can't picture Christine as anything else. Like she has to be that cherry. Was it cherry red? It was close to cherry red.
Cherry red. Yeah, for sure.
That Plymouth Fury. And, it's like trying to envision, like, yes, you're right. If Blumhouse were to do it today, like what contemporary music that would be relatable that Christine is speaking through that. The whole thing that makes that.
The only thing that I would say, and I agree with what you've said, and I hate to say this to some degree because I think we're so saturated now with this and it's becoming almost a cliche in and of itself now, but maybe you make a Christine movie today set in the 80s and you use the 80s music or 70s with a car from the 80s though. Like, so it's a nice, Cadillac Camaro, whatever it is, and cherry red, and it's set in 1987, let's say, and it's high school. I mean, you might be able to do that, but I'm getting to the point where, we're becoming so saturated. It's becoming a shtick now that I don't want that to almost hinder it. Whereas if you say that to me 2 or 3 years ago, I'd be like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Now it's like, oh God, another fucking high school thing set in the 80s. It's just
Tell you what, though, I wouldn't mind collaborating with you on a YouTube, short film and doing a Christine movie. That would be fun to do.
That would be fun to do. That would be fun to do.
Because I will say this, Carpenter's execution of, again, I'm loosely saying this with regards to the stalking, slashing, Michael version of, but turned into a car. That was well executed. When the car is chasing the John Travolta wannabe down the street and he's running.
It was great.
Well executed, how he's slamming into the cars and how he's slamming into the first, guy that he, basically cuts in half. Just very well executed of that stalking. And how the car methodically did the stalking. You knew Carpenter was pulling from Halloween when he was doing that.
Sure. Carpenter, yes, for sure. He probably was, even if it was subconscious, he just instinctually has done this before. He's done these stalking kind of things before, right?
Yeah.
So, it was very much like Halloween, but with a car in some respects. And I love when the car is it under an overpass or something, or where the car's like off in the distance and you see like the lights kind of turn on by like a wall or something? I forget what it was.
He's under something, and that's the first time when Arnie sees Christine, he says, "Show me," and she comes back to life, and now you're gonna go seek revenge on the people who've done this.
Right.
Off the first stooge. Yes, I love that. I love that.
It's great stuff.
You hear that synth,
Yes, bum 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 bum, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a fun movie. Like it's a fun Carpenter film. I don't think it's his best film. Obviously, it wouldn't even. I don't even think it'd be my top 3, to be honest with you, or top 4. But it's definitely, if it's on TV, yes, I still have cable,
watch it,
folks.
Yep.
I'm gonna watch it. Right, I own it. Maybe I'll pop it in once in a blue moon and watch it. It's fun. But certainly, I wouldn't say it's one of his best, but although it's not one of Carpenter's best, funny enough, it's one of, early on for sure, one of King's best. Because Stephen King, there were a lot of Stephen King adaptations that were garbage. And then some that were really good. And I think I don't think Christine would be in the upper echelons of the great King adaptations.
At the time it would have been, but not
at the time it would have been. No, now I think it's good. It's fine. Like it's a good early 80s adaptation. It's solid enough to say,
hey babe, let's pop this in, pop some popcorn and have a good,
exactly
simple, easy horror night.
I absolutely agree. And Christine, that was fun. That was something else I wanted to say about Christine. I forget now what I was gonna say here. I had something up here, and I thought I was gonna. Let me see. Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking at a couple of photos here. Darnell's tonight. Yeah, yeah. I like the I like the.
Oh, can we just like? I'd love to say this just in case if Carpenter ever came across this video. Carpenter, man, thing called guy code, okay? And in guy code, if you are going to fight with someone, no matter what the circumstances may be, if you are in a physical fist fight with someone, guy code 101, you never go below the waist, ever. And when he grabs Cougar there by the groin like that, no, a dude and a dude going at it with each other, unless you're a bitch, okay, in a fight. But it's an unspoken code of ethics that if you are going to brawl with someone, you don't go below the waist, because we all know, man, you go below the waist. It's like, come on, that's a cheap move. And that's the one scene in the movie that I was like, oh, man, come on, bro, no.
I think, too, when Arnie has to tape his glasses, so you have the... Yeah. It's almost, obviously, again, Carpenter's not a stupid guy. He knows, what it's going to look like. But it almost is just perpetuating the stereotype, which I guess is the point. But I'm just like, really? He tapes his glasses with white masking tape? Like, are you kidding me?
Can't be black masking tape or black tape.
Yeah, I'm just like, are you kidding? There wasn't, or he glued it or something. Like, it's almost like I'm watching Revenge of the Nerds, from the 80s. And I'm just like, oh my God. So it definitely, there's some cheese, but that was kind of the point, right?
That's early 80s, man.
And if it was written in the book, then Carpenter is only, adapting certain things for the screen that Stephen King wrote. So, but yeah, that's, I like the movie. I do, but I don't like it as much as Carrie. Obviously Carrie is a much better movie all around, but that's not to say that Christine's not bad.
With my October run, when I really crank up watching horror movies, Carrie is definitely always in that cycle. Usually Carrie's more in the beginning part of October of my horror movie run. With Christine, it's more of maybe every other year. It's not one that I'm going to watch every year, but it's definitely something I will watch. Or like you said, if I happen to now I have YouTube TV, which is in essence TV, but I have it, the app on my Apple box and just hit the app and it's TV. And I also have Hulu as well too.
Right.
But I have that through Spotify. And it's like having, cable television. And if Christine was on, I would stop it and be like, oh, okay, and watch it and maybe watch it to the end. But like, as far as like physically, and I'll watch it still on VHS, putting it in my old VCR and watching it every couple years, every other, not like, every year like I would with Carrie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, I agree. I agree with that. So yeah, do you want to move over to the chat room and take some questions? We got, it's 8:20, but we could do that now.
We certainly can.
Unless you wanted to talk a bit longer on Christine. Just trying to think of any of my favorite moments, but we'll see if they come up in the chat room.
The only thing is that I am planning to do a Christine photo shoot because some people ask me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, guys, if you're not following Tony on Instagram.
And I'm also going to do a Christine versus Carrie photo shoot, just to kind of have a little fun with two Stephen King characters, and see, this is where you can get away with doing the versus stuff.
Are you getting the car?
Oh yeah, I already talked. I shared it on Instagram a few days ago. I talked to the guy. He's gonna polish it up just a little bit for me. It's a '58 Fury red, and he's gonna let me use it for the shoot. With some certain stipulations. Like I want this really cool light effect. But I've got to be very careful because it's his car. I get it, and whatnot. But yeah, I was talking to the girl yesterday that I did the Carrie themed shoot. And I was like, we're going to have to do a versus, right, with you versus the car. And I have this epic shot on this this street in Georgia. It's a small town. It's North Georgia on the border of South Carolina and Georgia. And it looks like just old town Americana, old houses and stuff like that, like perfectly placed like in that period of, the late 70s and whatnot. And I just have this shot in my mind where I've got the girl playing Carrie on one side. Christine's headlights are on her, sparks going up, behind the girl Carrie, and just like epic, like stare down, like photograph. Does
she have the blood on her?
Oh yeah, like if you see the Carrie photo yesterday, legit blood that we dumped on her, which I showed in the behind the scenes.
I just was wondering if she's okay to get dumped on again.
Oh yeah, now that she's seen the results and people loving it, she's like, I want to do it again. I'm like, all right, man.
All right. Oh, I can't wait for that fucking photo, guys. If you are not following Tony Michael on Instagram, the link is or me, but I'm not posting that kind of cool shit. The link is in the description. Tony has been posting some awesome horror themed photos and from shit that Friday the 13th, Elm Street, Halloween,
Chainsaw,
Texas Chainsaw, Scream, Carrie, which he just posted, which looks awesome, and he's going to be posting very soon when he does it a Christine Carrie themed like face off. Oh my God.
Like a versus,
Yeah.
Because I mean, you think of like, all the fun YouTube videos out there and whatnot, people doing these verses, and I think that's where you do this. I wouldn't do like a Carrie versus Christine movie.
No.
Photograph.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yes. Because they not a movie, just a photograph, because it's almost like a moment it's like a painting, like it's just artwork. It's satirical,
like acknowledging Stephen King, two of his iconic characters.
Right. It's just like a bigger sort of picture kind of tribute.
Right.
As opposed to making a
To
narrative.
his double C's.
Right.
I forgot about that. Oh,
that's
that
right.
was gonna be
that's
my
right.
lead-in.
It's gonna be your lead-in. I was like, all right, you take it away.
I forgot. Yeah, I said this joke to Dave about, we should just call it, the double C's tonight, because what guy doesn't like a girl with a pair of double C's?
It's like a versus, right? At least I don't want to see a Carrie versus Christine story. No, like what the fuck movie is that going to be like?
Like an art thing? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And let's face it, if there was a Carrie versus Christine movie, I think Carrie would probably win in the first 8 seconds of the film. So
just look at the car, like crunch, that's it.
Yeah. Did you see the car that she totaled in the actual movie? So all right, we'll head over to the chat room now. First, I want to acknowledge, I think earlier there were two super chats.
Supers, yes.
That came in from Murder Motel. He just says, love your videos, Dave. You're amazing. Here's $25. Keep doing what you're doing. You sent 30 just to let you, or 35, just to let you know, but much appreciated. It goes right back into the show, into the channel. So, that's awesome. Thanks very much. Murder Hotel or Motel? Motel. Very cool. All right. So now we're heading to the chat room to see what kind of questions are on the horizon for Tony and I to answer.
Yeah, Michelle. Hey, Tony, I was meaning to ask you if you used real blood on the Carrie shoot yesterday. I used corn syrup, which is notoriously used for blood, but I also used washable children's red paint, non-toxic, so it was easy to come off of her. And then because with red paint, it's really bright. What I did to darken it up, I just threw on Hershey's chocolate syrup. We used a big thing of that, and we just kind of watched it to where we kind of felt like in the white bucket, like, okay, that looks blood enough. And it's, if you're ever planning to do that, or if you want to do that, that would be the ingredients. You need to get about a gallon or two of corn syrup, about 32 ounces of red use the children's washable non-toxic paint that's not going to hurt someone, and then get Hershey syrup, because the Hershey syrup will just give it that, and all these things won't hurt anybody. You can't get hurt by corn syrup because you eat that shit. So none of it is toxic except for the paint. If you use the wrong paint, you could kill somebody. But yeah, mix it up to get it to that happy spot, and then you're off and running. And yeah, if you see in the video, her boyfriend there dumps it on her, and she's covered from head to toe throughout the whole shoot.
Awesome. So. Now, the dress itself, I assume, is still stained with.
Yeah, I took that to the dry cleaners today, and I was like, "Good luck." But I told them this. I was fair. I said, "Look, I don't want the stains out because we are going to reuse it. Just get it to the point where it just is not so sticky anymore, so she can easily slide the dress back on when we do the second shoot." So,
And do you think they'll be able to do that?
Oh yeah. Oh, my cleaners, man. Like, they laugh every time I come in after a shoot. Like, because the guy who's Jason, he's wearing the flannel, so he's always sweating in it. Because down here, he's out in that stuff wearing the sack, and it's 100 degrees, out here in the South. And he's sweating, profusely. And my cleaners look at me like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and I tell them, like, no, don't take the stains out. I need the stains in there. But
right.
So that it's easy for to get back into.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Oh, a few super chats came in while we were chatting. Oliver Mercer, thank you, Oliver, says, hey, guys, would there be anything you don't like about Halloween 1978? If you got the chance to change anything, what would it be?
Oh, can we save that for when we do the Halloween 78 video in 81? Because I like that question, and I feel like I want to answer it in that video.
I like it too. Okay, Oliver. Okay, fair enough. Oliver, what I want you to do, because I want you to have because you did ask a question. Yeah. At me, at Dave McRae, so it's highlighted. Ask another question, and I will answer that as your super chat. But we want to save that for a future video.
Yeah, because we're going to be doing a future Halloween video here, and that's a great question for that video. And Oliver, because I think you're the same Oliver who follows me on Instagram as well too, send that over to my Instagram, as well too, because I have a little note thing that I keep track of all of the questions that me and Dave can refer back to during the stream, which reminds me, because I promised him that I would ask this question.
Okay.
He did ask this for me during the week, and I'm going to do it right now. And actually, it's a really great question. Dave, pull up another one while I get the question pulled up here.
Sure. Okay. Super chat from Edward Moody, just donating $5. Thank you, Edward. Much appreciated. Let's see here. Andrew Jones super chat says, any chance you will cover Aliens or the Alien franchise on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, or on a Saturday movie night? Well, Saturday movie night is the patron thing that I do, so that all depends on what the patrons vote on. I could totally see, I don't know if Tony and I would cover the Alien franchise, but I definitely could see, I think we could cover the first two at some point. Eh?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we'll eventually do that. Yeah, for sure.
I got the question.
Okay, great.
Okay, so this came from King of Street Fighters. Dude, I wish I knew your name, but it wasn't in your profile, so I don't know your real name, but King of Street Fighters. He said, hey, Tony, I wanted to personally message you and tell you that I love your work. Your photos are sick. Also, wanted to see what Dave thinks on the next Two Dudes and Some Bullshit about Danielle Harris being cast or being bring back in the new Halloween Kills to play Lindsay Wallace. How would Dave feel about Danielle Harris being cast as possibly to play Lindsay Wallace's character? In other words, meaning if Kylie Richards didn't want to play the role, because I think she's been outspoken about wanting to play the role, and I think that would be the obvious first choice. And I said to him, I said, actually, if Kylie didn't do it, or if scheduling conflict, I know Harris was a part of Rob Zombie's reboot. She is royalty to this franchise. I'm not opposed to her playing the role of Lindsay Wallace. What about you?
I am opposed to her playing the role of Lindsay Wallace. Nothing to do with the fact that I don't think she could do it. Number one, she's not old enough. She's about 10 years younger than what she needs to be. Although in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, she looked pretty rough around the edges too. But that was because she was made up to look, 500 pounds and pregnant and looking like she was,
I think she was legit pregnant.
Was she legit pregnant?
Yeah, because she just had a kid not too long ago. And if you do the math of the filming,
maybe.
She was legit pregnant. She just had a kid.
Perhaps. She might have been. But that aside, she looked a little rough. Obviously, that was the point. I mean, she's supposed to be a hippie out in the middle of Spawn Ranch. And by the way, I've been to Spawn Ranch. Just letting everybody know, or where it used to be. Just saying. Is it
creepy out there? Is it, you get a sense of like a?
Yeah. We should talk about this on another video. But let's just say I've been to. Yeah, it's.
I've been dying to do some of the real serial killer stuff with you. I know we've been talking about doing that.
Yeah, I've been there. I was there. I was there last October. So, or what's left of it. Anyway, so again, Danielle Harris, to me, I'm just speaking personally, I think I don't think so. I think anybody's just looking for a way to get her in there, and I just don't. Let it go. I just don't want her.
Well, here's the thing.
To me, all I see is Danielle Harris. I just see Danielle Harris, and she's not old enough. Could she play somebody who's 10 years older? Sure, but she's to me is too distracting. I just want to let it go. Let it go. I don't know. I guess it's just the whole idea of okay, not Lindsay Wallace. What about that? Like, people are not going to stop. What about the cleaning lady? Like, people just obsessed. They want her back now. Could she play? Could she do it? Yes, she could do it. 100%. The question is, do I want her to see her back? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't want to see her back.
Unfortunately, for her, and I think this has been a bad mistake for her professionally, what she's been doing on social media. You guys know I love the girl. She's my scream queen, through and through.
Yeah.
But I just think it's very unprofessional. I'm not backing how she's responding to this and how she's trying to get her foot back into the Halloween franchise. And yes, I think she would be fine as Lindsay Wallace. And again, that's if Kylie, in the weird scenario that Kylie Richards is not available and doesn't want to do it, because she's been very outspoken about wanting to reprise that role. I think
that surprises me, because she'd have to dumb down her looks a little bit. And what I mean by that
Kylie?
is that, yes. And what I mean by that is that she's,
I think she's only outspoken about it because of the popularity
of course.
and
to be fair, I mean, she's rich. She's one of the housewives of Beverly Hills or whatever it is. So all I'm saying,
either.
No, she's not. What I'm saying is that I don't want to see some rich, snotty Beverly Hills wife in Halloween. So if she's okay with, losing the fake eyelashes and nails and looking like just a small town girl from then okay, maybe we could talk. But if she's going to walk on my set and go, "Oh, you mean I got to put my hair in a pony?" Yes, you do. That's that. Yes, yes. But can't Lindsay Wallace be a successful, obstetrician?
Not if you're from Haddonfield.
Can't she be a lawyer? No. Anyway, I'm not saying that that's what would happen, but I'm just saying that I will say this. Sorry to interrupt, but I will say this. I would entertain the idea of Harris playing Wallace far more than I would entertain Harris playing some alternate version of Jamie Lloyd.
I gotcha. No,
Jamie
I would
Lloyd
never want her
is
to play
gone.
an alternate version of Jamie Lloyd. No, fuck that.
But for me, I wouldn't want to see her in this timeline. It would just be too distracting. It just would be too distracting for me. Because all I see is Danielle Harris.
Honestly, the only way I see her coming back to the franchise now is kind of like with this dude, the dude who did Never Hike Alone, and I think he's the one that's bringing what's the actor's name who played Tommy Jarvis in Part 6?
Oh, I know you're talking. Yeah.
He's bringing him in for Jason versus Tommy sequel, which obviously is going to be a YouTube thing. I know that sounds like it's really demoting Harris, but that's probably the only way you're going to see Harris back in the Halloween world, is if she gets part of some type of big production fan film, which is not not impossible, because look at what this guy's doing with Jason versus Tommy.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you're going to see it. I just don't see a studio, and it sucks to say it because I love the girl as a scream queen and all, and I will always support her and defend her. I love Halloween 4. I loved her in that role of Halloween 4, Jamie Lloyd, but what we're talking about now with the way Halloween was made now, even though I have my issues with the 2018 film, when I look at it objectively as a filmmaker, it's a solid film. It's put together. There's just executions that I don't like, but that's just, as a photographer and as you as a film creator yourself, because you've done, Halloween fan films, you look at it and you're like, you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But from the objective point of view, I mean, it's the best
well put
sequel.
Together. Sure.
It's the best sequel since Halloween 4. You know what I mean? It really is. It's a great film, and she just doesn't fit the quality that you're getting out of, Jamie Lee and Judy Greer and Andy Matichak. Clearly you can see these are really talented actresses, and it's not saying Danielle can't act and can't keep up with them. Quentin obviously believed in her enough to put her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I think also it fit the narrative that Quentin was telling in her, the character. He needed a pregnant woman. She happened to be pregnant at the time. I think a lot of that worked itself out.
We don't know what sort of relationship she has with
Quentin.
Yeah, exactly. At least I'm not sure. I mean, did Quentin Tarantino write the role for Danielle Harris? Probably not, unless he knows her relatively well and was like, oh, you're pregnant. Would you mind doing this small? Because it was a very small role. It was maybe a minute of screen time, if that. You saw her, if that, maybe 30 seconds. I am. So what I'm saying is that it's, did her agent submit Danielle for that role because Tarantino was looking for a pregnant woman, or was Tarantino just knows Dan that, oh, you would be perfect. You know, having a girl here at Spawn Ranch, you know, pregnant is perfect. I need that, you know, and so like we don't know, you know, the logistics of like who the hell knows? I have no idea. But you're right. Danielle Harris has to just, you know,
be more professional for starters.
Act like you don't care.
Exactly.
You know, just pretend you don't care. When you pretend you don't care, you become far more attractive. Yep. And I don't mean just physically attractive. I mean, you become more attractive. Now you can always put your feelers out there. Oh yeah, for sure. But don't make it seem like you're begging for a job.
Right, because it comes across as that, you know, like how the older sister is going to get to do this, but the younger sister wants to do it as well too. Jamie Lee's in there, the older sister. Oh, but Danielle Harris wants it. It seems like that's what she's doing right now. Like, well, she got to do it. I should be doing it.
It does seem like that.
Doesn't work that way. But anyways, I want to move on.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, real quick, Luke Perry's performance. I mean, that was tough.
It was nice. Yeah,
that was nice, but it was tough to see.
Yes, I get you.
In Once Upon a Time in
nice
Hollywood, that's what we're talking about, guys.
Yeah.
Because he's in there as well.
The Badass Ninja, Tony, thoughts on Halloween might be on the last Saturday in October. I actually have a video coming.
I wanted to do a stream with you about that and talk about that because I have a lot to say about that ridiculous idea of moving Halloween to Saturday. Like, it makes no sense. And I'm going to say this in short. It should be a national holiday, okay? It should be a national holiday paid day, just like Thanksgiving, just like Christmas. We get Labor Day now, which nobody's fucking off on Labor Day. Everybody goes to work on Labor Day, which is supposed to be a day that you're not supposed to work. Labor Day, the most you can do out of it is have a cookout, go to the beach. Woohoo, okay, I can do that any fucking weekend out of the summer. Halloween, you celebrate it. Your kids celebrate it. You get dressed up. You know what I mean? It's an event. It's not like, you know, something where it was back in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s when you and I were growing up. It is a different time frame. So I get the argument of moving it to Saturday where it's the safety concerns for kids trick-or-treating. But if you make it a national holiday, then you can start your trick-or-treating at 11 a.m., you know, and kids can go out and trick-or-treat till about mid-afternoon. And then the evening is for the parents to kick back, relax, watch some scary movies. Hell, maybe even some cooks out there start getting creative and coming up with Halloween traditional meals. And people are having it on Halloween night. And you turn it into what we celebrate on Thanksgiving and we celebrate on Christmas. And people have used the argument that, well, Bible Belt people won't support that. Again, it's not like the old school days. Yes, there are still some deep, hardcore Christians here in the Bible Belt, but most modern young adult Christians like myself and other people who live in this area, they're totally on board with the idea of making Halloween a national holiday. And it just makes sense to do that because to move it, no. You?
Well, I have a video coming. It might even be uploaded after this show. I'm not too sure yet. I have a video coming where I talk about the petition online, and I think people are going to really. Let's put it this way: I go balls to the wall in a rant, and my basic argument is: I read the petition. It has since been updated. To reflect
200,000.
Well, no, but it's since been updated to reflect that now it's not really about changing it from from October 31st.
Right.
It's about, well, why don't we just have this day and blah, blah, blah. And then they have this list of child safety things, which is a pile of garbage because not the statistics, the stats I'm sure are true, but at the very end, it says something about, you know, and by the way, you know, 51% of millennials say they would love to have it as a holiday, let's not kid ourselves. The original intent of that petition was purely to, really at the end of the day, so people could stay out later till the wee hours of the morning, so you get shit-faced at your Halloween get-togethers and parties or whatever the case is, and not have to get up the next day and go to work. That's really what it is. That's why they wanted to move it to Saturday. That's what I think. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the kids. And don't give me this virtue signaling garbage of stats that make it seem like it's about kids. Look, little kids are trick-or-treating from what? 5:30 to 7 maybe? And then you have, you know, kids that are older that are what? 7 to 9? Who the fuck is trick-or-treating at midnight anyway? Who's trick-or-treating at 11 o'clock at night? By 10 o'clock at night, you might have a straggler, you know, bing, bong. Oh, there's.
I was that straggler growing up.
Fair,
me and my
right?
sister and my brother, we were that stragglers trick-or-treating till 10 o'clock at night.
But in the big picture, who's trick-or-treating at that time? It's not affecting the children. And if you move it to Saturday, there's more people out and more cars out. So what the hell are you doing moving it to Saturday anyway? You're just gonna, it's not about safety. They're using these stats to make it seem like it's about the kids, and it's not about the kids. It's about you not wanting to have to get up the next day and go to work. So you want to move it to a Saturday so you don't have to get up the next day for Sunday. That's what it's really about.
And people who are in that adult category who want to party, they already have Halloween parties the weekend before Halloween.
That's what I'm saying. It's moot.
Because that's the adult time to go out, dress up, get drunk, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And then Halloween for them to be with their kids and take their kids out trick-or-treating.
100%. It's a stupid fucking petition. And, these people that feel the need, it's almost got 200 or 150,000 signatures, which is ridiculous. Why do you need it officially changed? Just celebrate it on the Saturday before anyway. But they want to move the trick-or-treating to that day, which makes no sense.
No.
Little kids, okay, you trick-or-treat at night. Even when Halloween falls on a Saturday, you trick-or-treat at night. And there's reasons for that, going back to paganism and Celtic, traditions and the Festival of Samhain. When you know your Halloween history, you understand why it happens at night. Okay, right. That's just why you're not trick-or-treating on a Halloween that happens to fall on a Saturday at 2 p.m. But like I just said, little kids are not trick-or-treating at 9 o'clock at night. The prime time for little kids is like 5, 6, and then you get like your 13, your 14-year-olds at like 7, 8, 9, and then you might get a straggler at 10 o'clock. But by 10 o'clock, 10:30, it's all done. So it's not having it on a weekday. It's not really interfering and it's been like this for decades.
What about making it a national holiday though, like Christmas and Thanksgiving?
I'd be okay with that.
Paid.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify that. A paid, we all get paid for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Well, for those of you, not us, not me and Dave, unfortunately, but for those of you who are working the 9-to-5ers, you get paid. That's a paid holiday. I'm saying, what about Halloween treated the exact same way?
I would be okay with that. I would entertain that idea. But what is stupid about the petition is they're using these statistics about child safety to pretend like children will be safer on Saturday. Says who? There's more people out on Saturday. There's more cars driving around on Saturday. It's fucking bullshit. Just have the balls to say, hey, I want to party on Halloween night. I don't want to celebrate Halloween on the 27th. I want to celebrate on Halloween night. I want to get shit-faced, and I don't want to have to get up in the morning. You know what? I still wouldn't sign your fucking petition because I think it's stupid, but I'd have a lot more respect for you, the balls to
tell the truth.
Exactly, because that's what it's about. Because the very end thing is, oh, by the way, 51% of millennials say that they would like it, because it'd be more fun. We could spend more time with the family and this, community, and fuck off with that shit. It's not about that, and you know it. Anyway, let's move on here.
Moving on.
All right. Let's, yeah, it is a good question. Anyways, I have a video where I'm ranting exactly like that coming very soon. Okay. Let's see. Did I just want to go.
The super chats.
I did, but I want to go back and see if Oliver Mercer asked that. I told him to at me. I just want to see if he added me. Oliver, did you do that?
Yeah, Oliver, just also re-ask the question on my Instagram and direct messages too, just in case if Dave can't get it, so that I have it as well too.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he did. Anyway, let's see here. Zena's barking. Yeah, let's see. Bobby Hall says the Christine soundtrack is very similar to Halloween 3 soundtrack. Yeah, there are a lot of...
And Halloween 2, you know, both.
Yep. Holly Klein says, I'm a mom and I still believe Halloween should be on Halloween. Rock on, Holly! Woo! Get this woman an award or something. I don't know. Let's see here. FMM Forever says, I say we celebrate Halloween all October. Well, some people do. Like, that's the thing, is that you don't need it officially changed to just do whatever the hell you want. Just do what you want to do. Anyway, PC Pierce Super Chat says, do you have dreams or nightmares that have stuck with you or deeply affected you? Do you have any reoccurring themes in your dreams? I don't. I'm one of those people that very rarely remembers my dreams, unfortunately. I remember them when I'm first having them, but I don't remember
creepy,
them in
man.
detail.
With the
what about
twinness, the twinness between me and you is creepy because I'm the same way. I don't really remember my dreams at all. Very, very rarely. If I do remember any dreams, I do dream about certain times of my life, like my younger childhood. But I'm an adult. But it's like, you know, back where I was growing up in the 80s and things like that. But very, yeah, I don't really remember much of my dreams. I mean, very rarely does that do that I can really recollect, you know, an actual dream. And yeah, very rare.
Cool. Let's see here. Mad Dog says, totally agree. Making it a Saturday would be worse than tailgating at a Bills game. Yeah, probably. Let's see
Kenny
here.
525. Hey, Dave and Tony, what is the worst horror villain you have ever seen? Worst horror villain
I've ever seen.
Ooh. There's a couple.
It's a good
that
question.
I wasn't like. Yeah, it's a really great question because there's a couple that I'm not like too like about.
But you could be but that's not necessarily like. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because I know what he's asking, and it's like
right.
There's a couple that I could put in that category that I'm like, God, it's not the worst, but it's not like the greatest. You know what I mean?
Right. You see, TTO said Slender Man, and actually,
I was going to say that, but the mythology of it, I like.
That's what I mean. Slender Man, in and of himself, is actually great. But the movie was garbage.
The movie was garbage. That's what I'm saying. The movie's
it's a
garbage.
Bit of a dichotomy there.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like that's a perfect example. The mythology of the story of Slender Man is pretty cool. The execution of him on screen was totally like that would be a villain that I didn't like. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say. One we'd have to think about, but that's a great question.
That is a very good question.
Let's see here. Mackenzie Burnett. Am I saying that right? Burnett? Have you ever seen It Follows? I have and really liked it. Tony, what'd you think of it?
Same thing. I love it. We got to do a stream on that one night.
We should.
That's a good double feature with something current.
Yes, I agree. I did like It Follows. There were a few things I didn't like about it, but I definitely like it's there's a lot of it's got a lot of Dave McRae in terms of mood, atmosphere, and slow burn. Just everything. So I did.
Slow burn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Determined Mermaid says, I loved Scary Movie. Oh, I guess you must be talking to somebody else. No. I loved Scary Movie. I haven't seen that movie in years. Let's see here. Zach Axiola says, at Dave McRae and Tony Michael, thoughts on The Perfect Storm from 2000 starring George Clooney. I saw that movie in the theater when it came out.
My heart is beating like a drum. All I remember is just that Rod Stewart song in the bar and they're all drinking and getting drunk.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what I remember from that movie is...
Hot Diane Lane. Hot Diane Lane. Real fucking hot.
Diane Lane is
lucky bastard.
Diane Lane is very attractive.
Oh yeah.
I would say that she's still very
horrible
attractive.
Boston accent though. She laid that on way too thick, and I'm sure Wahlberg gave her because Wahlberg's from the area. Right. Oh yeah, she really laid on that heavy accent real strong. It's like, oof, no, too heavy. But great movie. I like the movie as far as an early 2000 action movie. Obviously based on I lived in the area when that shit happened in the New England area. We got hit with that storm. That came down, and obviously we knew about the stories of what happened with the fishermen and everything.
Right.
And but Clooney was cool in it, Wahlberg was cool in it, a little over the top with the wave, but then again, we don't know what the fuck happened out there, and that could be very realistic.
Right.
But good, fun movie. Did you like it?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it in years. I saw it in the theater with my mom back in the day, and I remember liking it. The effects were great because that was at a time when these type of disaster movies were, kind of on now that was based on a true story.
Yes.
But that type of, special effects like, your Twister and your Independence Day and, this was 2000, so it was a couple years after, but it was still kind of a big thing. So it was neat to be able to see it. And movie theaters were changing at that time. They've been changing the last 4 or 5 years into the stadium style seating, right? You know what I mean? So it was the experience of the, THX surround sound, all that kind of stuff. So it was a cool experience. But what I remember from that movie for some reason is when the ship was during the storm or something, and helicopters, I think, came in to try and save them. And I remember thinking in my seat at the time, why the fuck would these helicopters go into that kind of a storm? Like
Storm.
they just wouldn't. They just wouldn't. It's like we can't go in there. It's
they
not.
Can't.
You know, we're not.
They physically. I don't think. I'd have to double check, and maybe someone in there is a pilot. Someone online is a pilot. And can confirm that. But I don't think you're right. That the magnitude of what they were portraying of the storm at that point, I don't think for safety reasons that they would be able to navigate through that. Now I know there's airplanes that go through big hurricanes that are designed to do that.
Yes.
We're talking about a helicopter here.
Yes. That storm, I mean, that storm would have just torn that copter apart.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Bob McFuckercake super chat. Do a two dudes.
I
know, he's great. He's a patron of mine too. Yeah. Do a two dudes in October and talk about the holiday of Halloween, traditions, pastimes, nostalgia, history, etc. That's not a bad idea. We might do that. Yep. We might do that. Good recommendation. Just want to make sure Rick Michael super chat says, could we have a Friday the 13th with a good story, maybe explaining where Jason was when her mom was killed, or should that be just a mystery? Well, Tony and I have a Two Dudes and Some Bullshit on our channel where we talk about what we would do if we were going to reboot the Friday the 13th franchise. Yep. I think it's episode number 2 or 3. It's very early on, so go back into the Two Dudes and Some Bullshit Rolodex there and check that out if you haven't already, because it's a great question. But it would take a long time to answer it here.
Yep. Filmatic, favorite WWF/WWE entrance music. Stone Cold Steve Austin for sure, because he's my favorite wrestler from the Attitude Era and pretty much my favorite wrestler ever. And then next pre-Attitude Era was Macho Man, Pop and Circumstance, I think is the name of the yeah.
I'm gonna rise to the top. Yeah.
Tell me you're snapping to a Slim Jim.
Hey, I do the Slim Jim ads, by the way.
I mean, Hogan's was cool. Hitman's I did like. Hitman's I thought that was cool. But Hitman's was also part of the Heart Foundations as well too. British Bulldogs was all right because that was more. The Rocks is cool from the Attitude Era. I'm trying to think pre-Attitude who else. Ultimate Warriors was good. You know, that definitely could get you jacked up.
And he just comes running down.
Shawn Michaels, and even the Rockers. Pre Shawn Michaels going off on his own and going heel for a little while there. That Rockers was a good theme. God, you know who had like the bad disco porno type entrance music was the freaking, if you guys remember this, it was they were a tag team at one point. They were Rick Martel and Tito Santana, Strike Force, and they had like they were so over though. The crazy thing was, like literally old school WWF fans know this, they were so over and so popular, but they had the worst fucking entrance. It literally sounded like bad 80s porno music. Something like that, but a little bit upbeat. Undertaker, Holly, Undertaker early 90s was the shit. Absolutely. Man, talk about a guy who had a career with the WWF.
Hogan's classic though,
Hogan is classic. Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
It's that old 80s patriotic,
When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. Bum, 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 bum. I
gotta tell you, I was not like by WrestleMania 5, I was so over the Hogan shit. Like, I mean, because it was too predictable. It was so predictable that he was gonna, main event and he was gonna win. It just like, all right, how many times are we going to do this recipe?
Yeah, I would say that I agree with everything you've said there, and I haven't watched.
We need to do a WWF. We need to do the era of the 80s and the Attitude Era. We need to talk about that because I think that's our wheelhouse.
I have not watched WWE wrestling since it was WWF, so it's been a long time. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's happening.
The only two current ones I know as Ronda Rousey and Paige. That's it. And only because Paige's real life story was made into a movie.
That's right. I will say that I did watch Goldberg and Brock Lesnar a couple of years ago.
I didn't do that.
And I only did that because Goldberg was a favorite of mine years and years ago when he was with WCW back in the 90s. And that's an entrance theme that I absolutely, I will say that was
Goldberg's,
I wish that he would have come into the arena with security guards all the time. because that was such a great shtick. But anyway, yeah, well, I agree with everything that Tony said there. So we'll have to do a WWF
wrestling night.
Yeah. Now we won't be able to talk about what's going on now.
No, so if you guys ask us anything now and people now, I will not know what the fuck, and we're probably gonna have to reiterate that like 10 times during that stream.
From 83 to like 99 or something like that,
Early 2000s I can handle, like in the Stone Cold, when Stone Cold turned heel and then back to good again.
Right.
Again,
gotcha.
And whatnot.
Let's see here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats above. Yes. Okay. Let's take a couple of non-super chats. Riley O'Brien, you guys are so damn good to listen to. Do you guys think Busta Rhymes deserves a part in Halloween Kills? Trick or treat,
no,
motherfucker. Trick or treat, motherfucker. No, yeah, sure. No.
No, I'm good.
No. I don't think Busta Rhymes deserves to have a part in any movie ever again.
No, but you know who I wouldn't mind? Playing a type, not a type role like that, but like the similar role, but maybe a little bit toned down, is who's the dude who plays Black Panther?
Oh, Michael B. Jordan.
No, that's not.
Oh,
Michael B. Jordan plays the villain, but the guy who plays the actual Black Panther. Is it Chadwick something or whatever?
I haven't seen the movie, so that's why I got that fucked up.
Shit, I see his face, and I rewatched Endgame here because Endgame became available on digital, and I bought it.
Somebody will tell you. God,
someone in the chat, help me out here, man, because I'm like dying here on a limb. But anyways, him I could see added because he's a talented actor, and I could see him being added into over.
Oh, there you go.
Rhymes. Chadwick Boseman. Yes, thank you. I knew I was close on the name. I just couldn't remember his last name.
Right.
I could see fit because he's a great actor. I could see him totally fitting into this franchise right now.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of, because you got to remember something. They're going for quality actors. They're going for good actors, and he would fit that mold over Busta Rhymes.
Oh, for sure. Most anybody would fit that mold over Busta Rhymes. Let's see here. Titch Wolf Fenris says, Dave and Tony, what do you think of the original 1976 Assault on Precinct 13? I haven't seen it in a long time.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I love the music from it.
Yeah, it's great music.
I love the music from that.
I remember liking it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's, I like it. Didn't they remake it? Yeah, they did remake it. I didn't care for the remake so much.
Yeah. Let's see here. You pick one. You pick a couple here.
Yeah. This is just a real quick one. Dave Johnson had asked me what cameras am I using. Tony, do I still use the D750 and D850 for the shoot? Yes, I use the D750 for everything you see on Instagram and some Fujifilm, depending. Fujifilm has a softer look, which actually but the similarity is in Christine. We talked about Christine tonight. The opening sequence was shot in Fujifilm because of that softer old look. And then they switched over to Kodak. So I thought that was funny that even the principles that they were using back then is still applied today, because there are sometimes that, depending on what I'm going for in the final output look, if I want a little bit of a softer tone, like a lot of my Jason pictures, the Sackhead Jason, I go more Fujifilm because Fujifilm has this, Fujifilm Digital too, has a softer look than the Nikon D750. If I want that real pop, then I go with the Nikon D750, and the D850 is strictly commercial. That's all I do for my, getting paid, because that's my big gun. That's a $4,000 camera.
Cool.
So there you go.
Cool. Great question. Great answers. Let's see here. Determined Mermaid says, oh gosh, I was replying to someone asking about Scary Movie, Dave. Sorry. I should have asked a question, but watch every video of yours so I know all your answer questions. Well, thank you very much, Determined Mermaid. We appreciate you watching and the support. You rock. Yes. Super chat from Jareed Mem77 says, Dave, Tony, do you consider Misery to be a better Stephen King film than either Carrie or Christine? If not,
really good film.
What are your top Stephen King films? Great question.
That's a good movie. Misery is a really good movie.
Fuck, it's great. Better than Christine, yes.
Better than Carrie, I don't.
Carrie.
Nah, because you look. I mean, nothing away from Bates, because she was great in Misery. Sissy was just, on just that kind of other level. You know what I mean? That kind of gives it that little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
Because my top are Carrie, It. I love It. Tim Curry, It. I'm still warming up to this newer It. Wait, are you asking Steve? Oh, films. Okay, I was going by books. Sorry. Well, no, I do like It. I do like it. So, but I don't know if I like it above Misery. And
I don't like it above Misery.
And I love Pet Sematary as well too, but not above Misery. Damn, that's a hard question.
For me, I would say that I like Misery better than Carrie. But that's not to say that that, you know, it's like this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, for me, Carrie and Misery is like literally like, because it's so good. It's like right there.
Exactly. I really enjoy watching Kathy Bates' performance and the subtle insanity that exists inside of her. And Paul, I'm your best friend. I'm your number one fan, right? And just I can watch just how creepy and how in no control Paul has. He is literally at the mercy of this woman. Yeah. And so I can watch that. I could probably watch Misery more times than I could watch Carrie. And it's not because Carrie isn't a good movie. It's just because I think I enjoy watching Misery more.
I have a feeling Misery might be our next Stephen King night. Misery with something else.
Yes, I would love to talk Misery.
What could we double that with?
We can't. We got it. We
can't talk about that publicly, guys. Sorry.
We'll talk after the show, so we don't want to. But yes, Misery's
good
great.
Question. I mean, it's tough because
question.
I do like a lot of King's films. I really love Christine. I love Carrie. Carrie's probably my favorite, and then next in line would have to be Misery. But like I said, I love It, and Tim Curry It, and I love Pet Sematary as well too. I'm a fan of Cujo. I am. You know, I like Silver. I like Silver Bullet as well too. Silver Bullet's another great film. Salem's Lot is just fucking forever long.
Right.
It is fucking forever long. But again, classic film. It's hard to say like ranking them wise, but like the top two would have to be Carrie and Misery, and then from there just. There's so many good ones that it's hard to leave out ones. You know?
For me, I would probably say if my top King films, the first for me would be The Shawshank Redemption, and then followed
Stand by Me,
and exactly then followed by I have Shawshank, I have The Green Mile,
great films.
I have Misery, I have Stand by Me, Carrie. You know,
it's hard.
It's so hard. So a lot of people forget Shawshank and The Green Mile because of the kind of stories they are.
Right? They're not the typical Stephen King type movies or stories. But
it shows you what a brilliant storyteller he is. And Frank Darabont just knocked both of those movies out of the park. I mean, just unbelievable. Great question. We could talk about that for hours. Great question. Let's see here. Justin Valdera says, speaking earlier about Carpenter, what do you think of the Body Bags, his anthology, where he's the host of the morgue? You know, admittedly, I have not seen Body Bags yet.
Same.
I still have to see that. But thank you for the question.
Trick or Treat. Mackenzie Burnett, your opinion on Trick or Treat. Sam? Love Sam. I have a seamstress who's in the process of putting a costume together for the Sam character that I'm going to add that to my arsenal of photos to do and whatnot.
Can't wait.
I think it's a fun film. It's fun. It's not
fine. I've only seen it once and I couldn't care less whether I saw it again.
If it's on, I'm going to watch it type thing. You know what I mean? It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it was
fun character, you know.
Yep. I like Happy Death Day better.
Same here.
I mean, it's a completely different thing, but I'm just saying. Let's see here. Bobby Hall says, Dave and Tony, favorite Tarantino film? Mine's Pulp Fiction.
Man, you guys are asking good questions tonight because these are hard to answer because Tarantino is another favorite director of mine. He's not like my boy back there, Kubrick, but man, Jackie Brown is good. Pulp is good. Reservoir is fucking amazing. I'm not too big on Kill Bill. I mean, you know, they're good, you know, great performances. I don't have anything negative to say, but it wasn't my personal faves. It wasn't like how I feel about Jackie Brown or like, you know, Reservoir or Pulp Fiction, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not knocking Kill Bill. I love Django. Django Unchained was another great fucking film. Inglourious Basterds, another fucking great movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I fucking loved that. I had a great time with that movie. Hateful Eight, like most people, that's definitely his weakest link. It wasn't one of my faves. I know this is gonna be cliche. I gotta say Reservoir Dogs, because it really I have so many great memories with Reservoir Dogs, and watching that growing up. Me and my brother watching it growing up. The influence it had on me, the one camera storytelling, because he used one camera to film the movie, not, multiple camera and cuts and stuff like that. His style of filmmaking was like he'd already have the scene prepped and ready to go right here, shoot this, turn this way, shoot here, all using one camera. And I like that style of filmmaking. And I applied that even into my photography work, is one setup here, get ready to go here next, and just keeps the process flowing. But Reservoir for me. What about you?
It's hard to say. I have a like-hate relationship with
Death Proof.
Tarantino.
Bob McFucker fucks. Yeah, I know. Death Proof. Like, fuck. Yeah, it's hard because they're
I'll admit, I'm not a gigantic Tarantino fan. I find he's a great filmmaker and he's a great storyteller, but he's a little eccentric and eclectic for me. I find that he's very good at what he does. So there are some movies I watch and I'm like, I get this, but it's almost like I have trouble getting lost in his movies because the way they're shot and the way they're done and the way they're edited is almost just distracting and more interesting than the story he's telling at times. But that being said, I did enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I won't spoil the ending, but I did like the creative choice that was made. I liked the sort of
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, I liked what he was doing. At first, I wasn't crazy on it. When I realized what he was doing, at first, I didn't know how I feel about that. Not that I was expecting him to actually, show, you know what I mean? But yes. I didn't know how I feel about that, alternate reality sort of presentation. But as things played out, I was okay with it. I did like Pulp Fiction. I thought that was all right. Reservoir Dogs was good. But, I admitted, actually, I quite like Kill Bill. I like Kill Bill Volume 1 better than 2. But, I'm not a big Tarantino guy.
No, I get what you're saying. And it's not that I don't not like Kill Bill. It's just I don't watch that like I would watch Jackie Brown or Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction or Django Unchained or Once Upon a Time is available. Those would be my first movies to go to and watch. And then Bob
McFucker Cakes.
McFucker Cakes said like Death Proof. Yeah, I don't watch Death Proof like I would watch the other ones, but I don't not like it either. Same thing with Kill Bill. It's just not on my go-to. And like Dave said too, I agree with that. Tarantino for me it's a mood. Like it's like I have to be in that mindset. Like I want to watch a Tarantino film tonight. It's not something that I go to a lot. It's a mood thing for me.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because he's got a very specific style that a lot of people like, and then sometimes I get distracted. I get more into the style of filmmaking than sometimes I do the story. So that's kind of, but he's he's extremely talented.
Dusk Till Dawn. That's another good film.
But he didn't, did he direct that movie?
I think he wrote it.
He's in that movie.
I think
I thought it was Rodriguez.
Wait, that was Rodriguez. Yeah, Rodriguez directed that.
Yeah.
But did he write it? That's the question. Did he write From Dusk Till Dawn? I know he's in it.
Yes, he wrote it.
Okay, so he wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote the screenplay. Yeah, he's in it. Yeah, he's in it. George Clooney.
George!
Unbelievable. Okay, we'll take a couple more. Let's see here. A couple more, because I got to go for my run. I got to get up early. I'm back downtown Toronto for some voiceover.
You run late, man. I get my run done about 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I like running at night. I like being, I don't know, I don't know what it is. I've always done that.
Really? I'd be like too wound up after my run trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, maybe it's because I've been doing it for so long. I don't know. Super chat from Nick. Dave, a great psychological flick full of mood and atmosphere from the 70s is Magic. Anthony Hopkins is a ventriloquist battling his scary dummy. A must watch. I've never heard of it.
I've never even heard of it.
Thank you for the recommendation.
So I'm going to write that down.
Magic. And I just love that. Anthony Hopkins is a ventriloquist battling his scary dummy. I'm sold.
Right there, I'm sold.
Count me in. My God, what a great premise.
What's his line from Silence? Have you heard? Shit. I was gonna try to quote him from Silence.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, what's it? Have you heard? What's when he calls her at the end? When he calls Clarice at the end.
I forget.
Oh my God! Someone help me! What's his line at the end of the movie? I'm epic fail right now on my part for not knowing that. Someone's gonna get it for me.
I'm looking it up here. I don't know.
Have the lamb stop screaming. Thank you, Robert.
Have the lambs stop screaming.
Sorry. He plays Lecter so great in that. He plays Lecter so great in that.
It was great. It was great.
Oh, the J Hookmaster. Quick thoughts on Carrie remake if there is. Yeah, there was one with Chloe Moretz, and I had totally forgot about it until the girl that I did the photo shoot with yesterday. She's 22 years old, so she's in that Chloe Moretz, age demographic. Reminded me of it, and I was like, yeah, I fucking hated that remake. There was, again, when you're talking about a movie, when you're looking at these two films objectively, you don't fucking touch this. You could, in theory, remake this. Should it be done? That's the real question. If a studio like A24 is at the helm, I trust them enough to go, all right, they're not going to fuck this up. I might actually enjoy it. Carrie, you just fucking don't even go there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Chloe Moretz, Sissy Spacek. Come on. The only thing I can do, like with my photography when I do these shoots, is give you guys a great tribute to the character. That's it. No way, shape, or form would my girl that I did the theme with, is she ever going to be in the ballpark of Sissy Spacek. All I can do is honor Sissy Spacek's character and do the best that I can. But that shit show disaster they did, it was an abomination, never should have been done, never should have been remade.
Never saw it, totally forgot about it.
You didn't miss it. You didn't miss anything.
Thank God. Let's see here. But trying to get some people we've never really...
We've got a lot of newbies in here, and I want to.
We do. It's nice to see. It's nice to see.
I know.
Who is she? Says, if another Final Destination came along, how would you explain people getting premonitions? Thanks, love you both. How would we explain people getting how would the story explain people getting premonitions? That's a great question. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know what.
I haven't seen those in a while. I only really watched the first two.
Either.
I didn't get too deep into that series. I watched the first two, and that was pretty much it.
Right. I think premonitions in and of themselves is very mysterious, and it's one of those things that's probably best served not knowing how somebody gets a premonition, just that they do.
I've never had a premonition, but I've had a shit ton of deja vus.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of deja. And when I'm in a deja vu moment, I don't know if this is like for anyone in the chat room or for you, Dave. Like, it's very surreal because you're like, this is fucking creepy. Yeah, I'm in the moment. I'm like, I fucking lived through this somewhere. I know it, and it feels so real, and it's just like the weirdest feeling in the world. And I get that. I get that at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
A deja vu experience.
Oh yeah. Yep. I get it quite a bit too.
That'd be a good horror movie to tap into.
Yeah. Well, there's the Denzel. There's a Denzel Washington action movie.
I know there's the Denzel action.
I thought it was fun to watch. But...
It's Denzel. It's Denzel, so I got nothing bad. But as far as a horror movie, because if anyone has experienced deja vu, like your heart drops, and like you're kind of you stop everything in your place, and you're like, what the fuck is going on now? I'm thinking about it and using your mind and how you're creative, that wouldn't be a bad idea for a horror flick.
Right.
A suspenseful, like Hereditary type horror flick.
Right. Oh yeah. I could see that. Yep. Almost like the butterfly effect, kind of, in some weird way. Yeah.
Way better.
Thanks. Okay. We'll take 3 more. 3 more. Thanks for the super chat, Nick. This is number 3. Everybody in the chat room, check out Tony's picks. I agree. Thanks, okay, that's not a question. So now there's 3 more.
Travis Lauterbach, David Toding. What did you think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? This is interesting because I like it from the black comedy side that Hooper went with. I hate what he did because it diminishes what he did.
Right.
It's that catch-22 from the black comedy side of it. It's a cool black comedy horror film, but you just totally destroy everything you created in your original film.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the movie at all.
There you go.
I just didn't like the the fact that they went almost comedic with it, you know, and I just didn't like
Too
it.
comedic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I never got that shit. But
Yeah.
I will say this: every time I see that in Texas Chainsaw 2, I always think of the Scary Movie.
Yes,
with the Exorcist moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The Manhammer AR-15 says, Dave and T-Dog, are you guys interested in the upcoming Scorsese, The Irishman? And what about Fonzo starring Tom Hardy as Al Capone? Well, those are two questions. So we'll just answer your first question because I haven't even heard of the last one.
I haven't heard of the Tom Hardy one.
No.
But though, I mean, Tom Hardy's a great actor, so if that's true, I'm sure it's great.
Yes. Oh, of course. The Irishman. Absolutely. I've talked about that on here before. I can't wait to see it. The trailer looks great. Pesci's out of retirement. I mean, it's just,
that's great
I'm
to see.
excited to see it.
I like that. I like that Pesci's out of retirement. It's going to be great to see him back on screen. Pacino here, you know, showing up in Once Upon a Time, and now this. So that's great to see him. De Niro, I have mixed feelings about De Niro now because he's just, I don't know. But he's a great actor.
Well,
so
I can separate the art from the, you know, and there's
Robert
no
De Niro in real life. I mean, I can't really stand the dude, but De Niro as an actor, he's a great actor.
He's one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. So he's amazing. All right, last question of the night. We'll go to.
I like Noah Henley's question.
Take it away.
A Clockwork Orange, does it count as a horror movie? Your thoughts? Oh, man. And I know we're going to do this one night. We're going to do a Kubrick Orange night here. I'm sure not too far. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror film. But there are scenes in the film that can be horror-like, you know, very disturbing.
Right.
And Kubrick executes that so well. A Clockwork Orange, from a cinematography point of view, is probably the best cinematography filmed. And what I mean by that is the way Kubrick used leading lines, negative space, his rule of thirds, how he would go in from a leading line into a rule of thirds. What I mean by rule of thirds is you've got, perfect example, Malcolm McDowell's walking around the little shop thing there, and it's in the leading line shot to where he stops in front of the vinyl record shop with the two girls there. You watch how that sequence goes in from a leading line into a perfectly framed rule of thirds shot. When Malcolm McDowell's in prison, in that very first sequence there, when he shows up there, how everything you look at the bathtubs and how they're perfectly symmetrically lined up, leading line shots, and how everything is leading line, and also Malcolm McDowell character is always staying in the rule of thirds. Or when the guys are beating up each other there in the abandoned building, the two gangs, you know, and how the execution of negative space and whatnot. It is just so, from a geek photographer point of view, we're picking up on this like, oh my God, this is unbelievable that he's doing all of this from start to finish. To think that methodically about a film and having everything like, you don't understand. That is not easy work to do, because the actors have got to hit their markers. And that is so important, and you've got to have the right lens and everything. No, not a horror film, but for me, it's one of the best filmed movies of all time. And I'm sure Dave and I will definitely do a Clockwork Orange night here sometime in the future.
Yeah, there's not too much. If anything, I disagree with what you've said. I mean, but it's definitely not a horror film. I would say
disturbing.
Yeah, it's a psychological drama, really, at the end of the day, is what it is. And there are things in it that are horrific to think about. But in terms of its presentation, I don't think it's presented as a classic horror film. I think it's more, of a psychological drama. Yeah. And it's a great movie. It's a great movie, man. It's a great movie. Yeah, we're definitely going to do a Kubrick night for sure, or maybe even a Kubrick month or something, because there's so many.
There's so much. Clockwork, The Shining. You know, I mean,
2001,
Lolita,
Eyes Wide Shut.
I mean, God, you know, I mean, Londonderry. We can leave that one out.
Is it Barry? No, it's
Barry Lyndon, whatever
Barry Lyndon,
it is. Barry Lyndon. Dyslexia. I blame it on dyslexia.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it.
I thought you were gonna take one. I thought it was one me, one you.
Oh no! It was just three. We did three.
I thought it was one me, one you. Okay, sorry.
No. No, that's gonna do it for Tony and I here on episode 33.
Hey, wait! How about, first of all, I didn't get a chance to, because I finally finished it. if I'm sure you guys saw it, his 2-hour Halloween 2. Dude, you should be copywriting your ideas for that Halloween 2, because if they take some of that shit, you're out fucking royalties, man.
Unfortunately, you can't copyright an idea, but you can. I would have to write a screenplay, and I would have to put it all in there. But I don't own the IP either, so
that's true.
So there's nothing I can do. Which is why at the beginning of the video I said, anything that may or may not appear that seems like a coincidence is purely a coincidence. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do, and I encourage people who are in the chat room who watched my Halloween concept to also watch the video I posted after it, where I explained the symbolism and the ending of the Judith lookalike character, because it's not just
that. I was like, because I just did that shoot not too long ago with the Judith tombstone and everything. Right. And like when you said, I was like, bro, that's like, yeah, that's on point. And God,
that's what you got to do. If you're going to end it, you got to add different layers of symbolism, because it's going to make the ending feel like not just an ending like we've seen before. It's going to make it feel like the character arc, arcs of our characters are complete. So for those of you that haven't seen it, and at face value,
I'm trying not to spoil it in case if people have, because it's a long stream or video.
It is,
but it's a great video for those who want to hear a solid idea for how to continue into Halloween Kills and ends and whatnot.
Yeah, I just think like I approach it from the perspective that it's one movie. It's how I would end it, but if some people are confused on the ending of the film, and think it's just I just added a Judith lookalike character in there just to bait Michael to the house.
Yeah, no.
That's layer number one, because that's what ends up happening. But watch my next video. It's only about 12 or 13 minutes long, and I go into the layers of symbolism of what is actually going on there, and how it's really she's not really there for Michael, although that helps. She's there for Laurie. And how it's all about the unspoken communication and how it taps into Laurie's subconscious. Anyways, it's a whole thing. You got to watch both videos.
Go watch it.
But that's what I think needs to happen. And because I think even the most hardcore fan, at least I would like to think, even the most hardcore fan at the end of that story would be like, oh, okay, I feel okay. I feel okay letting this version of Halloween go.
Yep.
Because the arcs are complete, and that doesn't mean there aren't certain things in there that still need to be added and developed on, but that was my basic blueprint.
No, it was good.
I'm really glad that you liked it. I'm glad that you liked it.
I loved it. And seeing the comments, man, you that shit blew up like fucking, and everybody got behind you. That was very creative. And it just sucks that, if they steal your ideas, they get to capitalize on it.
Yeah,
that's the shitty
we'll
part
see.
About it.
I have a feeling that now I don't think there obviously it will be the same story, but could they take inspiration from an ending or something? Maybe, I don't know. It depends if Blumhouse is. I have no evidence. I have no evidence that anybody that even is.
Well, you got a lot of views and you got a lot of positive comments, so that very well could end up in their lap at some point.
You never know. It's got over 30,000 views already, so that's good.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, so that's going to do it for Tony and I on episode 33 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Tony and I will be back again next week. We'll let you know when that will be as we get closer to the day. Remember, the default day is always Sunday, but sometimes we have to change some things around. But Sunday is always sort of the guaranteed day, and then sometimes, depending on what Tony's doing or what I'm doing, we have to kind of push it a bit. So sometimes that does happen, so be prepared for that. But we'll definitely we'll let you know what next week's show will be. And if you want to follow Tony on Instagram and you're not doing it, do it now. The link is in the description. The photos are just amazing. All my links are there as well, including my link to Instagram now. I am slowly but surely climbing the ladders of followers, which is always cool. So yeah, Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, good stream tonight. It was fun to, talk about Carrie and talk about Carpenter, Christine. A lot of C's in that.
Yeah, a lot of C's.
A lot of C's. Carrie, Christine, Carpenter. Looking forward to next week and catching up with everybody again. So we'll see you guys in a week.
For sure. Thanks everybody for the super chats and the support and continuing to watch. We love you guys. All right.